Welcome in, one and all. How was your day today? It's got to be a little brighter, right? Not a bad weekend. Badgers got a huge win. Packers get the win last night on Sunday Night Football. And the Brewers get a couple. The Brewers wins over the Yankees. Aaron Judge, by the way, just a machine. And he's just having one of those epic seasons. Do I expect this out of Aaron Judge every year? No. But you kind of just enjoy it. As a baseball fan, I think you have to. Creeping up on Babe Ruth, creeping up on Roger Maris, all that kind of stuff. I mean, 88 wins on the season. And he is now sitting at, 59 home runs. So what an impressive year he's having. And that alone drew a lot of people to the ballpark this weekend just to see the phenom that is. But the Brewers, they just it's like, they're just treading water. Just treading water right now. 2 games back behind Philadelphia. San Diego now has flip-flopped with Philadelphia. They've won 3 in a row while the Phillies have lost 4 straight. And the Brewers just kind of hanging in there. It's hanging in there. It's 78 and 68. 10 games over 500. It's not bad, but it's not where you need to be, obviously. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Badgers obviously get a big win. Now they've got Ohio State coming up on the docket. But the game last night, Aaron Rodgers and company, boy, oh boy, they could have blown. I have not rewatched the game. I got home last night after getting out of Pambo, so to speak. I got out of there at about 12:30, quarter to 1. By the time I got home, and I've been on the road now 8 days. By the time I got home last night, it was about 2:30, quarter to 3. And I had to unpack the car and get the studio equipment up and the whole deal. I think I got to bed about 4:30. And then the phone started ringing this morning at about 7:30. So I ended up shutting it off, which was a mistake because my alarm then went on silent. And had it not been for the fact that I did not close the blinds in my bedroom, I might still be sleeping. So I ended up with one eye popping up and I went, oh my goodness, I got to get up. And so I'm running a little ragged today. It may sound like it too. I'm not sick and just more tired than anything. It's kind of like a night that you go out drinking and you're not sick, but you've been drinking, you smoked a cigar, you've been screaming in a bar. That's kind of how I feel today. It's kind of that day. Ben, you're well aware of that feeling, aren't you?
Oh, yes. I had that feeling very much so yesterday morning after indulging heavily on Saturday. Good weekend, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It obviously was a little sloppy on the Packers side. There were a couple mistakes. I don't know if we could have asked for much more of a bounce back, though, generally.
No, I would agree with that. Regarding the Packers and their offense, they got it going. They discovered the run. 38 touches between A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones last night, when Aaron Jones got a total of 8 in the game against Minnesota. Now, I'll say this, and there were people last night saying, you got to ride them to a championship. No, they got to be a part of a championship. Because you're going to run into teams. Next week, you're going to run into a very staunch defense who can stop the run, and they proved that again yesterday. And they also baited numerous times Jameis Winston into bad throws. Now, Jameis Winston also has a $1 million arm in the 10-cent head analogy, where at times he had opportunities and just didn't take them. He chose to throw it into one time he threw it into quadruple coverage and then threw his hands in the air like, what? And it's just like, you cannot be that stupid. There are some people that do things and you look at them and go, what were you thinking? And they go, what? Like they're right. And it's like, no, you're really wrong. Everybody can see you're wrong. Your stupidity is on display for everyone to witness. And the fact that you don't get it says either 1, you are unbelievably stupid. 2, you never will, which is a character flaw. Because the ability to admit you're wrong gives you the ability to learn. So I wonder if Jameis Winston, because he was good under Sean Payton, or at least got better. And I wonder if he's going to revert back to the old Jameis Winston, just throwing it up to throw it up, thinking he can, kind of win the world over and see what happens there. But Tampa Bay and Tom Brady ends up getting a win. But I don't think the Packers can just pound it left, right. I think what they did was a lot of motion. You had a lot of Christian Watson, a lot of Romeo Doubs in motion. You had a lot of just, you're dragging guys across the field. You're watching defenses. You're watching them drop into a zone. You understand where the pockets are going to be. You're revealing things with guys in motion. And what I thought they did brilliantly on a couple of calls yesterday was, especially the Sammy Watkins crossing pattern, was they had run that play a couple of times prior. And every time they tossed the ball wide to either Aaron Jones or A.J. Dillon, and they ran the ball to the left side, set Sammy Watkins up in the slot on the right, ran the ball to the left, drug the defense, and 2 times I had noted, I went back and checked my tweets, 2 times I had noted that Watkins was open. And I'm thinking, what are they? And then finally, aha, everything sets something up. Then sure enough, he gets that scamper down the middle, and there's Sammy Watkins wide open, big first down for the Packers. So I thought yesterday everything came together. It was their own self-inflicted wounds, for lack of a better term, that really kind of prevented them from blowing the Bears out. The Bears are not a good football team. You know, Justin Fields is a one-man show, and he's not. He is what I thought he was. He can throw the ball when he's got time and he's got some guys open. He can throw the ball. He can wing it. But he is a guy that is going to look to run. He's only in his second year, and I got to give him a little bit of a growth period. But he's proving to be what I thought he was, a very athletic quarterback. And the term athletic is a connotation to it's a negative. It's not a positive. He's an athletic quarterback because he can do a lot of things, but he doesn't do a lot of things as a quarterback really well. He's a better running back than he is a quarterback. And I think that was a little bit on display last night. Not to say that the Bears, gave him a lot of help, because you didn't have a lot of guys wide open, but there were times that he had checkdowns. He just didn't take them and didn't see them. He just flat out didn't see him. He was a 2-read guy. Boom to the left, boom to the right, and then right back to the left, and then take off. Whereas Rodgers, there was 1 or 2 times, and I know we got into some Twitter wars yesterday. I shouldn't say that. We just, people's opinions differ, we'll say. But what I said was that Rodgers didn't have anybody to throw to. And people said, oh, my God, yes, he did. No, he didn't. He did have people. There were people open for a split second. But in that period of time, Rodgers is now preparing to get hit as the pocket collapsed early on in that ball game. He had Lazard. He had Sammy Watkins. He had Romeo Doubs. Guys that broke open for that split second, but they weren't open long enough to make really a play. But you watched Rodgers' head. Boom, 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 boom. He went through 4 reads, like looked into the hole where things are supposed to happen, and 4 reads, and then went back and realized the pocket was collapsing. And that was within a second or 2. That's what's so impressive about Rodgers and the mentality going to the line of scrimmage versus a guy like Justin Fields. Now, maybe Fields will get it down the road. I don't think so, because I didn't see him go through those progressions when he was at Ohio State. But it was just to watch the difference in quarterback play, to watch the difference in the ability to read the situation. It's like watching high school versus pros. It just is. It just is. But the Packers get a win. But had it not been for, and Rodgers, how about this? After the game, because everybody was saying, was that Rodgers' fault on that handoff to A.J. Dillon? And I even said on the air, I said, it looked like it was Rodgers' fault. It did. But Rodgers is so rarely wrong, it's very difficult for me to go, yeah, that's on Aaron Rodgers. But last night he comes out, he said, yeah, I screwed that up. I went the wrong way. I screwed it up. That doesn't happen very often. Not that, circle is a big red warning sign, because it'll probably never happen again, but it was an oddity. And then obviously Josh Myers, going with the snap count on 1 rather than 2. That was a bit of a snafu. And that really kind of spoiled the second half for the Packers, who only had a few drives in the second half. That was it. So, but a good game. Defense, after getting just dump trucked in the opening drive, came back 3 straight 3-and-outs. They gave up a total, I think, of about 3 yards in those drives collectively, if you take the penalty in there as well. So they did extremely well. And I thought that overall, the defense played pretty well. Do they have, obviously, do they have more to do? Absolutely. Absolutely. I thought some of the arm tackling in the second half was back to poor. Some of the fundamental things that I think this team could be, would be, should be doing, I think are still to be desired. But I think overall it got better, and they got into a rhythm in the defensive front more so than anything. Let me say this too. I was driving home last night. I'm listening, and it was driving me nuts. There were people talking about Rashawn Gary. Okay. Let me say this. And if you've ever listened to me, that I've had, I didn't think he was going to be a good pick when they picked him. I have since completely changed my tune, and I've said it on the air numerous times. So I'm not suddenly jumping on the bandwagon. I followed this progression to becoming a really solid player along the way. Rashawn Gary last night, people say, well, he wasn't in the mix. He was just standing there. And then I'm listening to one of these other radio stations. They're talking about, well, give it time. He'll show up. He's had this propensity. I'm like, whoa, do you know what the hell you're talking about? Rashawn Gary did twice where he wasn't involved in the play. He wasn't involved in the play. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. What was that? Set the edge. Don't let Justin Fields get outside. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. He stood up the offensive lineman, danced him around the outside, did not allow a cutback lane or an ability to get around the outside for Justin Fields or Montgomery for that matter. Did exactly what he was supposed to do. He stymied his guy. He stood him up. He held him right there at the point of attack. And that hole then opened up, which should have been filled by a linebacker or a safety, or even a transferring, stunting defensive lineman coming to that side of the field. Twice, he did it to perfection. He wasn't a part of the play. He statistically didn't matter, but he did exactly what he was supposed to do. Why? Because they didn't want to let Justin Fields get on the outside. Because a couple of times he did crash down. He did go ahead and make a play for the quarterback. He did go ahead and think that he could get the bull rush. He got burned. So sometimes you can look at Rashawn Gary and go, you know what? He's not really doing much, but watch him. Watch what he's supposed to do. Sometimes you can look like you're getting blocked, but really what you're doing is allowing yourself to get it blocked into a position of effectiveness. Coaches will call it that. Your position of effectiveness. That's where you go. If you need to be the guy that cuts off the end and forces him up, be that guy. You're not going to get a tackle. You're not going to get a stat. But guys inside that film room are going to know it. You did exactly what you're supposed to do because there's the hole, which means Devondre Campbell or Clay Walker or anybody else that's filling the middle is supposed to come, stand right in that hole, plant their hips and go, come to me, baby, and take them down. That's the way it works. So I'm coming home last night. I'm listening to people just rip Rashawn Gary. And I'm like, wait a minute. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. And you're criticizing the guy because he wasn't, loading up on tackles. So I thought that was interesting, an interesting perspective last night. And don't forget, he did get a sack last evening as well. But I thought that was an interesting perspective. He did have a couple of plays that, it wasn't good. Wasn't good. But there was nobody that was perfect. You can point out a play and go, that he got blown up. I'm sure you can. I'm sure every player gets blown up. It happens. But if you can only point to one, that's not a bad day at the office right there. Unless, of course, that's the game-winning score or something like that. So 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Give us a shout. You choose to do so. Again, 877-867-1670. But I thought Rashawn Gary played a pretty solid game. So for those that were coming after him last night, no, I think he was pretty solid. So there you go. What else do we got for you? If you want to hit us up on Twitter, you can do so at Bill_Michaels, at Bill_Michaels. Hit us up on Facebook fan page, Facebook Bud Light live stream going right now. That's the Bill Michaels Show on Facebook. Find us on YouTube, Bill Michaels Show on YouTube, on Twitch TV. Email the program. The Bill Michaels, Bill Michaels at gmail.com, thebillmichaels@gmail.com. You can find us on the website, thebillmichaels.com as well. And again, we are on YouTube, we are on Twitch, we are on Twitter, we are on Facebook, many of the different platforms. You can always watch the program there as well. Ben, I want to get your texts or takeaways from what you witnessed last night as well. We'll get into that discussion. Also, for those of you over on the Bud Light live stream, we'll start to get some of your commentary and so much more. So much more. Hang in there. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show on this Victory Monday, we can call it, as the Packers get a win over the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears on one of the stations down in Chicago always call it Victory Monday, Chicken Monday. So we'll kind of steal that. Even though I hate that, I hate kind of, taking anything from Chicago, but I gotta be honest. Anytime you beat Chicago, it is so much sweeter on a Monday, isn't it? It just is. I don't know why, but it just is. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Gina Della from Pella here. Wayne Larrabee and his wife Julie took advantage of our wide range of beautiful wood designs that can be painted, stained, or unfinished to complement any decor.
We have a lot of windows in this house. You match the craftsmanship of the woodwork around those windows to a T. That's a talented group of people doing that.
We like our wood tones, and so the ability to have wood tones some places and the white windows others, it worked really well for us and allowed us to have exactly what we wanted.
Pella's team of expert installers always provides service of the highest quality, starting with an in-home consultation and ending with no hassle or mess, leaving nothing but perfect results that stand the test of time. We have the best wood warranty in the industry to prove it. There's no reason to wait any longer, because right now, put no money down, make no payments, and be charged 0 interest for up to 24 months. At Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Get started today at PellaWI.com.
Expires 9/30/2022. Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
I didn't play great, and I feel like the stats look a little better than the game. The standard I set for myself is pretty high. I feel like it is attainable, and my definition of success, I feel like, rests gently on my shoulders and my ego, but I missed some throws that I should never miss, and there were some opportunities for more points out there.
Those are the words of Aaron Rodgers. Welcome back to the program, the Bill Michaels Show, brought to you by our friends at Bud Light. Speaking of Bud Light, the huddle this week, we are back. We are at the Mecca Sports Bar and Grill, downtown Milwaukee, the Deer District, coming up on Wednesday night. Be a face in the crowd. Again, going to be at the Mecca, 6 to 8 this Wednesday night. We're back down in the Deer District. Looking forward to it. Come on down, hang out, and watch a little baseball, whatever else is on the tubes. Talking some Packers football. The upcoming opponent is going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers down in Tampa Bay this coming weekend, and looking forward to the good food down there, the good hospitality down there. It's just a really cool place right in front of the Fiserv Forum. Come on by the Mecca Sports Bar and Grill this Sunday. Speaking of being out and about, this Sunday, it's a special day. We're going to do a watch party. I want to get people together. Even if you don't ride a motorcycle, there's a motorcycle ride this weekend. It benefits Fisher House, Wisconsin. It's not my ride. Joe Hennis does a great ride out of Sloppy Joe's out in Hubertus. So, and hopefully I can do a little bit, but what we're going to do is they're doing the ride in the morning, ending up at Smoke on the Water in Okauchee Lake. We are going to do the post-game show. We're going to watch the game together, watch party, post-game show, all live from Smoke on the Water out in Okauchee Lake. And maybe it's our, kiss goodbye to summer. But regardless, we're going to have a great time. So come on out and join us, whether you ride a motorcycle or you don't. It doesn't matter. You can come out and enjoy the Packers game, enjoy the post-game show, all the food, all the fun, all the frivolity that goes along with it, all the beverages. There's going to be some Bud Light specials going on out there. But that's from our friends at Smoke on the Water. And don't forget about our friends at Bud Light as well. So really, really, really looking forward to that. So, Ben, what was your takeaway from last night's contest?
A lot there. I think overall, what I said in the beginning, it's what we could have asked for, bouncing back, kind of like they did last year with the division opponent at home. It's not clean. There are still things that there you want to see improved upon, but overall, many positive signs. I thought Matt LaFleur's fingerprints were all over the offensive game plan. And we saw Rodgers after one of the Aaron Jones touchdowns, one of the tosses, point to the sideline and say, LaFleur, dialing that play up, that worked. So I thought it was a good day from Rodgers. He said he didn't play great. I was talking last week. It's like, given what they have on the outside and in general with this offense, the offense will go and stop, if you will, with Aaron Rodgers. And when it works like it did, even when the running backs go crazy, I think we have to give him a lot of credit for making all of that work. So I think he played well. Obviously, it was a comfortable win. In terms of the defense, it's kind of crazy how much a secondary can fly around and look great when Justin Jefferson isn't running at you. Right. So they look great. There weren't many threats out there, if you will. Special teams were fine generally, minus the almost muff from Amari Rodgers. The biggest thing to me, defensively at least, is Quay Walker's flashing. And the athleticism they now have at that linebacker spot, like when Justin Fields was running or trying to run into the end zone to make it a 7-point game, that play Quay Walker made, people that aren't him don't make that play. Right. Crazy fast, the close. So I think there are a lot of good signs from the younger guys as they get their feet wet and as everything gets going. I don't know. I'm encouraged. I'm not all the way in on, everything's fine and fixed and stuff, but I'm very encouraged.
Big day for Aaron Rodgers, 19 to 25, 234 yards yesterday, and then obviously a couple of touchdowns, sacked 3 times. Early on in that ball game, the pressure was there. The defense of the Bears was there. The Packers were able to drive down and get the field goal. Ultimately, the drive stalled. But nevertheless, early on, Rodgers was getting hit, and they were having some trouble. And I understand Elton Jenkins was rusty. Come on, man. Come on. He has not played meaningful snaps of football since really, I think it was, October of last year. So I'm not coming down on Elton Jenkins. The fact that he's out there and playing and getting some reps, and he knows he was rusty. I thought the comments by Matt LaFleur after the game that said, kudos to Elton Jenkins for playing. We don't win that game without him. I don't know if that's verbal slobnobbery or if that is an indictment of the backup situation they had the week before. Did you hear that, Ben? Did you hear when he said that?
Yeah, I have it, actually.
Because but play that back, because Matt LaFleur just raves about Elton Jenkins and how they don't win the game if he doesn't play.
I really don't think if he's not in the lineup, we don't win that game. And it transcends his level of play, what he's able to bring to us. You know, I thought first night out, I thought he did a great job. And certainly there's some things that he's going to want to clean up, like every guy. But just his mere presence out there, I really think that was just a big time difference for our offense.
So just his presence caused them to win the game. Now, do you take that as, hey, it's great to have him back? Or do you take that as, holy crap, our backups suck?
Well, part of the second, definitely. I genuinely think his presence makes everybody else so much better in terms of what they're able to not worry about. And even if Jenkins himself doesn't play great, just him being there automatically raises the level of everybody else on the line. So I think it's very additive in that way. And yeah, the backup situation is not ideal.
Yeah, I didn't really know how to take that. That made me go, what? When he said that they don't win that game without Rashawn or without Elton Jenkins. I wish there was a follow-up question to that. Not that he's going to say, between you, me, and the fence post, our backups not that good. That ain't going to happen. But I didn't know how to take that comment, and I thought that was. I wish. Sometimes you just get the answer and you write it down and you got to move on. And when you're in those press conferences, but that's one of those questions. That's one of those answers, I should say, that deserved a follow-up question. And there wasn't. So it's not to rip anybody that was in that press conference, because I know how that is. I've been there, done that. But that was when I heard it as somebody just kind of listening. I thought that was rather interesting. And plus, there's a lot of guys in there that have different questions. They have their own questions that they want answered for the story that they're writing or whatever angle it is they're taking into the game. But I thought that was rather interesting. Again, no David Bakhtiari. Now, the expectation is that this was the plan to get a couple of weeks into the season. They've changed up some of the padded practices to accommodate hitting versus rest for Bakhtiari and his days. So he doesn't get days of back-to-back hitting, days of back-to-back strenuous activity, so to speak. And then he was expected, at least this was from what I understand, after talking to a couple people last night, from what I understand, this is the plan, that he will then return to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this Sunday to play left tackle. So remember, Elton Jenkins last year missed a couple of games, and he said before he went down with the injury, he said, man, it was so tough after a couple of weeks off, so tough to come back. It took him a half of football just to get back and acclimated. So I knew just putting him out there was by no means a sure thing. Just to say Elton Jenkins is back doesn't mean anything. Elton Jenkins has to shake the rust off, get back into the feel of the speed of the game, and then adapt and adjust. It is going to be that way for David Bakhtiari. So when Bakhtiari doesn't look like David Bakhtiari to the level of play that you believe he should be at, or what you've come to expect, don't be calling in. Don't be going crazy. Don't be saying, oh my God, Bakhtiari's done. He's washed up. He'll never play again. He's terrible. You got to give him a few, okay? Because when he does come back, he's coming back again. Pick your defense. Tampa Bay's a really good defense, but they got some big boys and rushers up front for Chicago. I think this was the plan all along. It doesn't matter. You're in the trenches, it's man to man. In the trenches, you're up against that guy or two. So Bakhtiari, it doesn't matter who he faces. He's going to face a tough opponent. It doesn't matter. He's going to get their best rusher. So it's going to take him a little while to get acclimated. I'm not expecting much out of David Bakhtiari, specifically in the first half of a ball game. So I think Matt LaFleur, Aaron Rodgers, and company are all going to design things to ease David Bakhtiari back into play after being gone for almost now 2 years. Think about that. New Year's Eve 2020 is when he went down. That's how long he's been gone. Let's do this. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break, come back. Got a lot more to get to, a lot more of your, and Pac fan, I agree with you. People that were ripping Gary last night, they don't understand what playing the edge is. Tom says, don't forget about Randall Cobb, bear killer. Tom, you're right. The master of the inside slant. And I like that Lazard said how much he's learned from Randall Cobb regarding that. So when I said last night on Twitter, Cobb on the inside slant, that's a credit to Cobb because the way he worked, the way Alan Lazard worked off of that block to get the inside slant touchdown came from Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb has been working with him, or at least worked with him in the past, on doing that little quick inside deal to get open. And, Cobb's effect there. In Cobb last night, same thing, where we had that symbiotic relationship. He knew where Aaron Rodgers wanted to go with the football. It was a breakdown play. He came back, got it first down, and extended that drive that then allowed Alan Lazard to score. So Randall Cobb had his thumbprint, and he's kind of a bear killer, for lack of a better term as well. So he had his thumbprint all over that game last night. Stick around. We got a lot of stuff to get to. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Cunis RV and Cunis Automotive. Go to shopcunis.com. Dealerships, automotive dealerships, cars and trucks all over the state. There are RV dealerships. I drive past them everywhere. I've been traveling now for 8 days? Whether it's driving over to Minneapolis up the highway, or from Eau Claire to La Crosse to Tomahawk to Green Bay to Milwaukee. Been all over. Every time you're heading up and down the highway, you see Cunis RV. You can get service anywhere. You can get a new one, get a used one, consignment, parts, accessories, service. Cunis RV, that's the way to go. Go to Cunis, Kunes, CunisRV.com. If you're looking for an RV, motorhome, fifth wheel, travel trailer, camper van. Or if you're looking for a new or used car or truck, with dealerships all over, buying power everywhere, and they treat you right, go to Cunis, Kunes, shopcunis.com, shopcunis.com. Stay tuned. We got more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Definition of success isn't always measured in stats. And for Elton, I thought tonight was an absolute success. I really do. He's been out for a long time, and he's battled in practice and battled in his rehab, and he went out there and played an NFL football game. That, to me, is a successful night.
Good words from Aaron Rodgers talking about Elton Jenkins and his return. A lot of praise from the head coach, Matt LaFleur, saying they don't win the game without Elton coming back and playing in that game. Speaking of Aaron Rodgers, Ben, did you see there was footage of Aaron Rodgers walking into the stadium yesterday? And did you see the Twitter world and more so the fashion world goes bananas because of what he was wearing on his feet? Did you see that?
No. What was it?
He was wearing a combination from Prada of Prada Adidas sneakers, black, all black, and without the pouches on them. They're probably pretty cool, but they actually come with two, not one, but two zip up Velcro pouches that stick to the shoelaces. They are the stupidest looking thing. Now, he did not have I will say this, he did not have the pouches attached to the shoes. Just an FYI that I could see. But they come with pouches attached to the shoes, which make them look like an old dude wearing a fanny pack. They remind me of fanny packs for your feet. I'll get a picture of them and send them to you or tweet them out. But yeah, that was what the fashion world was all the rage about. Was that
I've seen the shoes out and about. They are hideous.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers wearing the Prada Adidas combination shoes, which, by the way, they go for the retail price in these things is like $2,000 or something like that. Or no, excuse me, that's way too much. Excuse me, $850 for these shoes. $850. The black colorway. The rare shoes released on January 13th, 2022 for $850. The average resale price is $681. But yeah, they're not great looking shoes. But Aaron Rodgers had the cool sense to take the pouches off before walking into the game. So there you have it. 877. We're coming up next. Going to talk a little gambling, little line action. How'd I do this weekend, by the way?
You went 1-2. All three picks were yesterday. The Packers won. You lost with the Ravens, though. They completely choked against Miami. The Broncos are just a disaster on a football field. But they won. They didn't cover.
I really thought that the Ravens would just stomp on what. Let me say this. Now, 2 games does not a season make. But they put a lot of pressure on Tua this year in Miami when they went out and got Tyreek Hill and company, and they started adding pieces to that roster. And it was kind of like, here you go, kid. We're going to give you enough rope to hang yourself so we can then either say we made a mistake and move on, or we can go ahead and say, okay, you're the real deal. And what he did yesterday in bringing that team back with Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill is just, I think Tyreek Hill might be a better receiver than Devontae Adams. It's just far as speed and ability to get open, because Devontae Adams is technically unbelievably sound. But watching what Tyreek Hill did yesterday, oh my goodness. Tua throws six touchdowns yesterday. 6 of them, all over the place. Tyreek Hill had a couple, Jalen Waddle had a couple, and it goes down the list. But what a day yesterday. Leads them back, and in Baltimore, mind you. And gets the win. And Lamar Jackson did not have a bad game. He got stuffed on the 4th down, which that was much like the Packers game. That was the key play of the game when they stuffed him on that 4th and short. But yeah, that was somewhat of a stunner to see Baltimore go down at home to Miami, who starts out 2-0 on the season. And it wasn't a bad day at the office by any stretch of the imagination for Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, he had 9 carries for 119 yards, a 79-yard touchdown run. He also was 21 of 29 and threw for 318 yards, had a quarterback rating of 142.6, 3 touchdowns, but his defense let him down late in that ball game. Defense let him down. Dolphins came back 28 points they put up in the 4th quarter. The defense was like they started taking on a little water, and then the hole just blew wide open. And so anyway, long story short, they would have covered, and I would have been 2-1, but man, oh man, did that Baltimore Ravens defense fail me yesterday. Big time. So let's do this. We're going to step away. We're going to come back, talk a little bit about the lines, about the spreads. Tonight's contests, I say that in the plural because you got the Titans are on the road taking on the Bills and the Bills Mafia. Bills coming home after that big win on Thursday Night Football to kick off the season in L.A. They beat the Rams. They now come back home. They got the Titans and Derrick Henry to contend with. And then the Vikings, who look so strong against the Green Bay Packers in week 1, they go on the road and take on Ben Kenny's Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts and company waiting for them at the link. So a lot going on tonight with those lines. We'll talk a little bit more about all of that when we come back. Stay tuned. Whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up. We were up in Tomahawk, ran into Ryan DeStefano, and Wabam is continuing to grow, getting bigger, better than ever. They are not only here in Wisconsin anymore. They're starting to really expand out. The product has taken hold. Detailers are now discovering it. They're proprietary when it comes to their chemical formulations and makeup. It's just an unbelievable company. I've been telling you for a while. Whether it's industrial, janitorial, or you're just a car enthusiast, a bike enthusiast, a boat enthusiast, you clean up around your house, whatever it happens to be, go to Geet, getwabam.com. That is getwabam.com. See for yourself about the product. It's taken everybody by storm. And they were giving a lot of stuff away, but they were selling a ton of stuff after people used it on their motorcycles over the weekend and went, holy crap, this stuff. I want to lean back and pound my chest because I'm not right about a lot of things in my life, but this was one of them where I went, yeah, that works. That's good. Good stuff. That is getwabam.com. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers beat the Bears 27-10. Last week, Matt LaFleur pledged he would get Aaron Jones more carries after the loss in Minnesota. Last night, Jones scored 2 touchdowns, one on a run, another on a short pass. LaFleur after the game.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed. What do you have, 18 touches? I'll tell you what, Aaron Jones, man, he was absolutely electric. Every time I think he was going down, he'd somehow find a way and squirt his way through, and he's just a hell of a competitor.
Jones finished with a combined 170 yards total offense and was asked if he was looking forward to the Bears game after the loss in Minnesota.
I was really looking forward to it, yeah. Coach came out and said it, yeah, we're going to get you and AJ the ball more and get you guys more involved. So that just naturally put a smile on my face and know that I had to show up when my number was called, and that just pushes me that much harder.
The Bears had a good opening drive, going 71 yards in just 7 plays and scoring on a Justin Fields run into the end zone. But Fields ended up only throwing 11 passes in the game, the rest all running plays. Did their offense under Luke Getsy become one-dimensional? Head coach Matt Eberflus.
Yeah, I mean, I always think that on offense you have to have balance. So we're going to have to look at that, and we'll look at that, as we assess the game and evaluate the game. But man, the way we were running it, we were running it really well. We were going with what was working for us.
After the Bears touchdown, the Packers defense shut down Chicago. Did they make any adjustments to the game plan? I asked Preston Smith.
No, we just made sure we made those mistakes, man. It was a lot of mistakes that was made on that first drive that, a lot of people wouldn't know, but internally we know we had to play more sound and move faster and play more with a sense of urgency. And we came out there and after those drives, we played with sense of urgency, got lined up, played, and made sure that we didn't make a lot of mistakes again.
That's Packers outside linebacker Preston Smith. From Lambeau Field, I'm Mike Clemens on the Bill Michaels Show.
outstanding day thanks to the hardworking men and women of the New England Patriots organization.
Let's start there because what a day yesterday for Mac Jones in the sense that the offense is being heavily criticized. Matt Patricia seems to be some kind of a bumbling idiot anywhere he goes. He can call a defense, but for whatever reason, they've got him calling the offense. It's something he really hasn't done before. They're not setting the world on fire. A lot of criticism, but they still are able to pull off a win against, even without T.J. Watt, a staunch defense in Pittsburgh.
Oh, it was a master class from Bill Belichick, a man that, as a Buffalo Bills fan, I despise, and I'd turn away from him. I'd cross the street if I saw him in public. But he's a great guy to bet with your dollars. And despite a scuffling offense, watching them just grind the game away late and just not give Pittsburgh a chance to take the lead. And Pittsburgh made one terrible mistake. They muffed a punt. New England fell on it, and that was the difference in the game.
I want to go over to the Jacksonville game. The Jacksonville Jaguars shut out the Colts, who tied the week prior, now goes scoreless in week 2. But was this the Doug Peterson effect on Trevor Lawrence, what we saw yesterday?
Yeah, I think Jacksonville was just laying down for Urban Meyer last year. They were ready for any new voice. I think they picked a phenomenal new voice in Peterson, and the Colts just aren't good. They get screwed over by an unlikely Andrew Luck retirement, and since then, owners trying to go the quick fix route with these aging quarterbacks. And Matt Ryan, he just ain't it, and they seem to be circling the drain right now.
Then you've got the Trey Lance effect as he goes down yesterday, broken ankle, out for the season. Jimmy Garoppolo comes in, promptly takes him to a 27-7 win over the Seahawks. The Seahawks, who got the win in that decision, we'll say, at the end of the game against the Denver Broncos in week 1. Now the San Francisco 49ers come in and just beat them up with Jimmy Garoppolo. Is this the now Garoppolo effect? Because that's a team that we all thought could possibly win the division, could possibly find themselves deep into the postseason again if they used Garoppolo and not Trey Lance, and now it's all Garoppolo all the time.
It's a fascinating juxtaposition with a team like Dallas, another team with high expectations traditionally, who has no backup plan despite their win yesterday. Cooper Rush is no Jimmy Garoppolo, and so you kind of lose a quarterback and your ceiling crashes down. The 49ers played it safe. They kept Jimmy around for just this occasion, and boy, did they look smart. We know Jimmy can take him all the way to the Super Bowl. He's a fine game manager of a quarterback, especially with Shanahan under control. And yeah, I think the ceiling is all the way to the NFC Championship for San Francisco right now. Our
buddy Matt Mitchell on the line from the Action Network, brought to you by our friends at Potawatomi Hotel Casino. They've got the Golden Play coming up this month, and you can also win $5,000 on Thursdays. So you've got games coming up tonight. The early one, the Titans on the road taking on the Bills at home, and they're given 10 in this one with Derrick Henry, who can ground and pound. If they get it going against the Bills defense, they could chew up a lot of clock, and maybe that deficit of 10 points becomes a lot closer because of that. But how do you see the game working out?
As a Bills fan, I have to put that aside. I'd note that, when we talk about, things you can't handicap from a narrative perspective, it's the second September primetime game in the city of Buffalo in the last 22 years. It's going to be bananas there. Last week, they already gave the children of Orchard Park, New York, a half day today so they could get the buses in and out in time for how many people are going to be in that tailgate lot. So it's going to be raucous. But that said, Mike Vrabel is an absolute underdog king. We have 150 NFL head coaches in our database listed as a 3-point underdog or more ever. And Mike Vrabel is by far the most profitable coach straight up. He wins games like this outright. He knows how to pull upsets, like you said. Limit mistake, run the ball, play keep away, just like Bill Belichick, his mentor, like we talked about in Pittsburgh. He is a king of covering spots like this. So if you're going to play it, I'd either take the over, because I think we'll see a lot of points today, or you got to take Tennessee and take the 10, even though I'd love to see a 50-0 Bills win.
Right. I was going to say, I thought maybe you might go with a little more of the heartstring there, but sticking with your head and your money and your wallet more so than anything. I like it. Then you've got the game that's a little bit later on. Vikings on the road taking on the Eagles. Public money both on the Bills and the Vikings. Vikings an impressive win over the Green Bay Packers in week 1. Can they do it on the road against the Eagles in week 2?
A lot of people like to talk about this don't bet Kirk Cousins in primetime narrative, and I think that's dead. he lost his first 9 Monday Night Football games, but his last 2, he's won, he's covered. I think whatever was going on there, he's figured it out. That said, a lot of our guys at the Action Network, including the Action Network podcast experts, like Philadelphia and this one at home. They're not laying a big number. It should be, speaking of a raucous environment, it should be insane with, scumbags like Ben Kenny in Philadelphia filling that stadium. I would expect them to show out and cover that number easily.
Excellent. Matt, always great to talk to you, man. We'll talk to you at the end of the week, and we'll get the whole weekend spread as well, okay?
Thanks a lot.
All right, buddy. There you go. Matt Mitchell, Action Network, joining us. Good old boy Mitch, Uncle Mitch, over there on Twitter if you want to find him, in the Action Network. Easy to find. Shows you where the public money's going, show you what the odds are, all that kind of good stuff, the inside stuff. Go to actionnetwork.com. You can find it there. It's all brought to you by Potawatomi Hotel Casino. Pays big. You got Wheel Spin Wednesdays going on right now. You can score up to $10,000. Don't forget, you got a lot of good stuff coming up on Thursday, too. You can win $5,000 on Thursdays. Coming up next, though, let's break down the film. Let's break down the win. Eric Baranchek, Green Bay Press-Gazette, joins me next on The Bill Michaels Show.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Last night saw the Green Bay Packers use a balanced attack on offense and got key plays from its defense to earn a 27-10 victory over the Chicago Bears at Lambeau Field. Running back Aaron Jones carried the ball 15 times for 132 yards and a touchdown, while also grabbing 3 passes for 38 yards and another score, while Aaron Rodgers went 19 of 25 for 234 yards and throwing a pair of touchdowns. Rodgers says it's great to win, but they need to keep getting better, especially with the Buccaneers next in the schedule.
I'm just trying to, again, temper expectations, and obviously I'm going to enjoy the heck out of this one tonight. But we got a big one next week, a tough road trip. It's got to be better. This was better than week 1, but we got to be better than this if we want to compete with Tampa.
Saturday saw the Wisconsin Badgers rack up nearly 600 yards of offense and forced 3 turnovers on its way to a 66-7 victory over New Mexico State at Camp Randall. Graham Mertz went 12 of 15 for 251 yards and 3 touchdowns. Mertz is now thrown for at least 200 yards in 3 straight games for the first time. Up next for the Badgers this Saturday, they're in Columbus, Ohio to take on the 3rd-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes. Kickoff is at 6:30.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
When a company only does business in Wisconsin, that's Wisconsin Strong. Rural Mutual provides all lines of insurance, including commercial, farm, home, and auto. And your premiums stay right here to keep Wisconsin strong. Local agents, local underwriters, local claims adjusters.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Yesterday, the Milwaukee Brewers could not finish off the sweep of the New York Yankees as Aaron Judge hit number 58 and 59, 2 shy of Roger Maris's record, to help the Pinstripes to a 12-8 victory over the Crew. The loss left the Brewers 2 games back of Philly for the final wildcard spot and 2.5 games back of San Diego. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Hour number 2 of the Bill Michaels Show. Welcome to everybody on the network. Eau Claire, La Crosse, Iroquois, Marshfield, Rice Lake, Menominee, all our good friends listening to us on WDUZ, both AM and FM, Platteville, Shawano, Clintonville. Saw Greg and the gang at WJJQ up in Tomahawk over the weekend. Had a great time. So welcome onto the network for everybody. Joining us now on the hotline is our buddy Eric Baranchek of the Green Bay Press-Gazette, breaking down the Green Bay Packers and the win yesterday. Eric, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. I got a question for you.
Yes.
For most listeners, do you think they even know where Iroquois is?
If they listen to this show, they do. Otherwise, I don't think people throw darts at it on a map. But it is a hidden gem, especially around Christmas time, because the whole town just kind of comes out for their Christmas celebration, and all the little storefronts and everything open up, and it's just such a cool place, and I love going there. But yeah, you're right. It's not a mecca. It's not a metropolis, but nevertheless, it's still a fun space with good people.
I would suggest anybody that's got nothing better to do on a Saturday afternoon before the Badger game or after the Badgers play, take that ride, man.
Yep.
That is some just beautiful country.
Oh, that's
about
for sure.
Another couple of weeks when the leaves. Oh
Yeah.
gosh,
Yep.
Be giving the quick trip some business, filling up.
Yep, no doubt. So let me ask you this. I want to go back to something that Matt LaFleur stated, and it kind of raised my eyebrows a little bit when he said last night that we don't win that game without Elton Jenkins. A couple of things came to mind. One is that it's just good to have him back. He's giving him some props and praise for, working his way back into it after what we've seen David Bakhtiari go through. Secondly, he could be also saying, geez, the backup plan we had just did not work and was kind of an epic fail. But it also means that you've got a trust factor and you can do some different things, or maybe you can open up the playbook more, or maybe you can just, kind of get back into your comfort zone of play calling. And you don't have to keep tight ends in. You don't have, he can kind of go on his own island once he gets his feet under him. One of the three, or maybe a mixture thereof, I think was this statement. Give me your thoughts.
Well, with him out there, obviously just having him on the field makes it better. But now you're better. So with him at right tackle, and now you got Newman at right guard, that's a big upgrade from Hansen. And that proved to be a pretty big statement last night. And you could tell that, that wasn't Elton Jenkins that we remember, but we got to remember this is his first live action. So some of his angles were a little bit shallow. He's a little bit slow and on his kick, and he's playing right tackle. So a little bit different. So he's a little slow on his pass, his initial kick back on the pass block. But not bad. But really, there were times where he was just mauling guys downfield. And I think importantly, he was able, because if you watch the game, they ran a lot of sweeps or a lot of variation of the sweep where they're pulling guard or more importantly, the one that was really effective when they pulled the center and the guard. So that's like the old Packers sweep. Instead of pulling two guards, they pull the center and a guard. But when you have that, when you're running it to the right and you can be comfortable that right tackle is going to down block on that defensive tackle, that is a huge thing for you to do, because you got to have time for those big boys to get up and around the corner. And if that defensive tackle gets penetration, now it throws off the track from the guys who are pulling, like primarily the center. And if that doesn't happen, that's bad. And the other part of it is if that guy is going to evaporate, like basically he's going to take himself out of the play and go inside. Now his read is to go up and get a backer, and he's got to be physical enough and confident enough that you can stop that backer, so he's not undercutting the play and making the play in the hole before he can get around the corner. So that was it was really good to see him out there. And you just see him kind of, I think, last night was, the first game back and probably the first game in live action, and he looked pretty good. And I think it's only going to go uphill from here. I mean, it's pretty good. You really like his athleticism. And that was the one thing that you really were looking at as well. Is he going to be really slow? I don't think he was slow. I don't think he was slow out the ball. Right? I just think it was game speed. His angles sometimes were a little shallow, and I thought that sometimes his balance wasn't always there. But I think he's going to be just fine.
So go from
really.
I was going to say, go from one extreme to the next, because it seemed to me like the middle portion of that offensive line, possibly Josh Myers, which also, when you start to get your butt handed to you, it also kind of takes away your concentration when he snapped the ball erroneously on the first count rather than the second count. It seemed like he didn't have a great game yesterday.
Well, you got to take the good with the bad, right? And yeah, he had some plays, in the first drive there where Jones, swam under. That was a guy, Jones was making a play. He swam over the top, he backdoored a block and swam it over and got a minus yard play, or minus 2 yards on the play. Those ones stick out. The bad snap sticks out. But one of the things that the key to that running game was their guard center guard combination, whether it pulling or they were just when they do their inside zone stuff or they're bouncing to the backer. I thought was, really good. You take it, so you got to take the good with the bad. I going into the game, that was one of the things that I had pointed out that's going to be really important for the running game, was because they got Blackson, they got Jones, and they got Roquan Smith. That's a pretty good triangle there that you got to have. You got to be able to block. And I thought for the most part they did a pretty good job. And that's where some of the stuff was really good up front. And also, you got to how many teams can have an athletic enough center that you can pull? Not very many. And that guy was pulling, and not only did he just get around the corner and fall down, he made plays. He made blocks downfield and some pretty big blocks, like on that touchdown run that Aaron Jones had on the sweep to the. It was in the second quarter when they were driving from the left to the right. That play, that's not a touchdown if Myers doesn't pick up that backer or that safety that was there. So he comes around the corner. You had a really good block in there. You had a great down block from 74. You had 13 who cracked Roquan Smith, and then you got Josh Myers. You had a kick out from Newman, and Josh Myers is running up there to safety who's coming into the alley. He picks him off and score a touchdown, a 15-yard touchdown. That's good stuff. What people see is they see the backdoor play that Jones made for the tackle in the backfield, the bad snap. Some of those kind of things. I will disagree with anyone that says that he had a poor, he's a B. That was a B- game. That wasn't a poor game whatsoever by that guy.
I go to the defensive side of the football, and we were talking a little bit about Rashawn Gary, and I'm coming home last night. I was listening, and there was some people calling in and saying, well, where is he? Is he getting pushed around? And there was a couple of times where he was out of the play, but I said, look, when I watched Rashawn Gary last night specifically, he was setting the edge. He was making, because the big fear was that if you allow Justin Fields to get outside and run wild, that's exactly what he's going to do, and he's going to torch you. So what he did was set the edge on numerous occasions. Now, there were times he just manhandled, got on the inside with a stunt or what have you, or just a good move, and he got to the quarterback or got to the running back. But for the most part, when I was watching him, if he wasn't involved in the play, he was doing exactly what I thought he was supposed to be doing, and that was setting the edge.
Well, a lot of times, you can be the player of the game and not even make a tackle just by how you're setting up your team and playing good team defense. Now there was the one play where it was, he got Montgomery 5 yard. It was a 5 yard loss in the third quarter there, coming out of the chute. And, he made a really good play. He took a chance and made a good play by ripping underneath and going up and beating that guy underneath. And he doesn't make that play that ball goes for quite a ways, but he made a good play. But you're right. One of the things earlier in his career he was not good at was keeping when he had contain or when he was supposed to have leverage on the edge, he didn't always do a real good job of keeping his outside arm or outside leg free, so that you can, fend off a block and get to the guy, at least stretch it out to the sideline so the good guys come and make the tackle. Those were some things that happened last night that were really good. So the running game, I don't think he was a major liability. I mean, everyone's going to get stuck on occasion. Quay Walker was, some of those runs that went for big yards. He's got a big bullseye on his chest when he goes in to watch team breakdown of the film today. Is that he really did not show up last night.
Talking with Eric Branchek of the Green Bay Press Gazette and breaking down the film from last evening. Now, they had some gaps, but I think if they don't create the self-inflicted wounds with Rodgers turning them in the wrong direction and fumbling the handoff to A.J. Dillon, and then in addition to that, Josh Myers snapping the ball on count one rather than count two, I think if one of those drives or both of those drives, both of those incidents don't happen, I think they blow them out. I think this game becomes a blowout at Lambeau Field last night because the Packers had all the momentum, but now the defense did not get off the field very well in the third and fourth quarter, only for the fact that they only had a couple of drives, offensively speaking. So I don't think the defense necessarily did their job. It's almost like they took their foot off the gas a little bit. But I think if they don't turn the ball over, I think they blow them out last night. Do you agree?
I totally agree. And I think you're right, too. I think, when you were watching the game in that series in the fourth quarter, you could just kind of tell that it was, they were kind of, you're right. They took the foot off the gas until that goal line stand. But that was just but again, there were a lot of gaps where, you're looking at a team who's got a big running back in Leonard Fournette, whose forte is running at, B gaps, A gaps. They better light their hair on fire a little bit in practice this week, because if they go out and do that again, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run a lead I'm going to run a B-gap lead, and quarterback's going to come under center. Tom Brady's going to say, all right, there's number 7. We are going to run right at him, and we're going to run away from him because he does not like to get out. He likes to get underneath blocks. So if I need a big play in the running game, I'm going to make my decision if I'm going to run at him or run away from him. Either way, you're in good shape because he undercuts blocks. So he, even plays where it could be a 3 or 4 yard play goes for 12 because he's on the backside of a block rather than climbing over the top and getting in there at a 3 or 4 yard loss. So as quick as he is and as fast as he is just not very physical. And you saw him thinking last night, and you saw him flat-footed on occasion. That play, that touchdown, or that play that didn't go for a touchdown, that Fields went and dove for the pylon. If he's not flat-footed at the 1 yard line and continually moving with the quarterback, that play is probably a lot closer to the 2 yard line or the 3 yard line than it was to the pylon there. So some of those things are going to they need to clean up if they're going to be effective stopping the run going forward.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Going forward, you're going to face a pretty good team. They've got Leonard Fournette. They can run the football. Obviously, Tom Brady is so much better than Justin Fields. And Justin Fields is turning into, over the first couple of games anyway, what I thought he was. He can throw the ball if he's got time, if he's got some guys that are open, but more so he's athletic. He wants to take off and run. He's not necessarily a pocket presence passer. And I don't know if he's ever going to be because he's never really shown that propensity. So now you face an entirely different team, going back to a tough defense, going back to a team that likes to run the football when they can. They don't want to put it all on Tom Brady. So what do they need to do better this week going into this game, in your opinion?
Well, it's going to start with the linebackers. I mean, we saw what I think is an anomaly in Campbell missing some plays that he probably normally would bring the ball carrier down. So some of that I'm attributing to it being basically the second preseason game for a lot of the starters on defense, because you can stimulate game speed and all that stuff, but you can't you can try to, is what I'm meaning to say, but you can't simulate it in practice. You got to get out there in the field, and you got to, because the angles are different, right? So when the game's on, the bright lights are on, everybody's a little bit quicker than they are in practice, and you got to be able to account for that, and they will. So I'm hoping that what we saw last night was a aberration. It wasn't going to be the norm with, because Campbell missed some plays that he probably normally wouldn't miss. And then 7 is going to have to be a lot better. He's going to have to be able to scrape over the top of blocks and just cut off run plays there. I thought the D-line played fairly good. And if you watch that goal line stand, if you're a D-line coach, that's about as good as it gets. I mean, everybody's got their heads below the offensive lineman. You got no push. I mean, that was really good stuff. So I think the reality is it's going to come down to the play of the inside linebackers if they're going to be successful in stopping the run. And Fournette's a load, so they're really going to have to put their chin guard on and get after it.
One more thing before I let you go. We saw Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson, a lot of motion last night, not a lot of action. At what point, and there were times that they were open. So give me your thoughts on both of their play thus far. And I guess the next question is, when do you see them really being utilized in the offense more?
Well, it's going to happen sooner than later, because you can't keep, as much as you want to use your running backs, I think 15 to 18 touches for Aaron Jones is about where you want to be, because it's a 17-game season and we got a bunch of playoff games after that. So I think that's probably about as much of a workload. Maybe 20 touches a game would probably be the high end of it. The good thing about Aaron Jones is he doesn't get brought down. I mean, you never see him taking too many big hits because he's kind of slippery. So my point being is that you saw it a little bit with the screen pass to Doubs, where he made that 20-yard, where he got 20 yards on that. That's pretty good. And you saw Christian Walker with taking the end around twice. The first one went for 9. The second one, he made a mistake and cut inside too far, and he only got a yard on it. If he keeps that down he tries to get to the sideline and he's going upfield. But they're going to need to start playing teams. They're needing to start doing some stuff downfield, because you saw what the Bears were doing. They were doing, they were playing like a 2-shell. And then late they would bring down the other safety. So they had effectively, a lot of times they had 8 guys in the box, and that's why the Packers were successful getting it to the outside, because they were able to, their line and their receivers were blocking good so they could get to the corner. What they're going to need to do, I think, is going to start throwing those guys some balls, probably more vertical balls, because you saw on the one pass play in the first quarter with Dobbs, the ball, he breaks from his cut and the ball is like already there. He didn't have any clue the ball was coming. It was too late. So it's just the little things, the little timing things, when to turn your head, where to sit down in the zone. You saw Sammy Watkins twice last night be able to get down in the zone and find the spot and do a really good job. Those are some of the things that it's going to have happen, and I think it's probably going to have to start vertically to get some pressure downfield, because otherwise teams that have a better secondary are just going to sit there with 8 men in the box and say, run it.
Mm-hmm. Eric, always good stuff, man. Good breakdown. We'll talk about it a little bit more later in the week, and I appreciate it as always, pal. Okay?
Yeah, you guys have a great week.
You too, buddy. There you go. Eric Baranchek, Green Bay Press Gazette. You can find him at Eric Baranchek1 over on Twitter. And he joins us and breaks down a lot of the film and what he sees as the Green Bay Packers get a win over the Chicago Bears yesterday, go to 1-1 on the season. And it's all about the dubs. That's it. 27-10 was the final last night at Lambeau Field. By the way, I was talking about the Prada Adidas kicks that Aaron Rodgers was wearing walking into the game yesterday that set the fashion world on fire, I guess. I don't really give two blanks about it, but apparently other people do. So some people wanted to see what they look like. I posted them. If you find them on Twitter over on the Facebook fan page, you can find them both there. Thank God he did take off the foot fanny packs, though. That I'm happy about. Stay tuned. We've got a whole lot more of the Bill Michael Show next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michael Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Get on your ATV and hit the trails in Humbird, Wisconsin. Moto right up to the Scholze Family Beef Farm Store or order online at ScholzeFamilyBeef.com.
Gina Della from Pella here. Wayne Larrabee and his wife Julie took advantage of our wide range of beautiful wood designs that can be painted, stained, or unfinished to complement any decor.
We have a lot of windows in this house. You match the craftsmanship of the woodwork around those windows to a T. That's a talented group of people doing that.
We like our wood tones, and so the ability to have wood tones some places and the white windows others, it worked really well for us and allowed us to have exactly what we wanted.
Pella's team of expert installers always provide service of the highest quality, starting with an in-home consultation and ending with no hassle or mess, leaving nothing but perfect results that stand the test of time. We have the best wood warranty in the industry to prove it. There's no reason to wait any longer, because right now, put no money down, make no payments, and be charged 0 interest for up to 24 months. At Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Get started today at PellaWI.com.
Expires 9/30/2022. Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. Our friends over at New Mail Medical. Treating guys with ED all over the state of Wisconsin and well beyond the borders, reminding you that, yes, they can help. You know why? Because they have a 98% success rate. Success rate. That's all but guaranteeing that they can get you going again. Big time. So give them a call, 414-455-4451. That's the New Mail Medical Center. 414-455-4451. Or if, say, you're tired, you're sluggish, you're moody, you're just like, man, I just can't get it going. Could be low T. If you're over the age of 30, it takes just about 10 minutes to get your numbers checked. Just stop in, make an appointment. Or if you're looking at yourself going, holy mackerel, here comes the winter months. Here comes the holidays. And I'm already putting on a few pounds and I shouldn't. I want to take them off. Get yourself in for the all-in-one weight loss program. Get yourself looking better, feeling better, lighter, more fit. It works. All you got to do is call 414-455-4451. 414-455-4451. All you got to do is call. Can't do anything if you don't call. Can't do anything if you don't get off the couch. Got to do it. That's our friends over at New Mail Medical, longtime supporter and sponsor of the program. Speaking of phone numbers to call, 877-867-1670. Let's go to Gerard listening to us in Delaware. Gerard, what's happening?
Hey, Bill. I hope you get more sleep, but anyway.
At some point.
How long is it? Now, look, Parsons of Dallas and Walker are the same size. Walker's like 6'4", 240.
Mm-hmm.
The other guy's 6'3", 245. Okay. How long is it going to take the Packers on passing downs to move Gary inside and put Walker on the edge? The quarterback cannot throw from his rear end.
Right.
At least I have never seen that done. But why does it take the Packers so long to see these things when we can see them? And it's like they're always like it's a secret. Oh, we're going to break it. You know, we're going to do this at this time. We're going to surprise the other team. And our other number one draft pick, Wyatt, is he on the milk carton yet, or how? What's going to go? What's going on with him?
You know, that's interesting because they're using him sparingly right now, Devontae Wyatt. But I would agree with you that they're going to start because Quay Walker is a sideline guy with mad speed, and when you start overloading the outside, now granted it does open up the middle, and Devondre Campbell has to be better. But if you put him on the outside and you overload the outside, now you're picking your poison. If you throw him on with Rashawn Gary or Preston Smith, you can move him around a little bit as a blitzer. Or, he's got enough speed, too, where you can do it as a stunner.
Well, remember Zandarius Smith?
Yeah.
They used to move him inside.
Yep.
Remember, he used to run up the why can't they use Gary like that and put Walker on the edge? Why? This is the perfect time to do it against Tampa Bay because Brady can't move.
Well, that's the other thing. I think they'll do things like that. I think they have not shown their full complement as of yet. They were getting gashed in the run game against the Vikings, so they weren't going to do it then. Now, in this particular game, they just set the edge for Justin Fields because then they had the two linebackers in the middle to eat up Justin Fields when he came forward.
Right.
And now I think you could do that because Brady is going to stand still, but you have to be careful because if they do give it to Leonard Fournette, then it opens up the middle, and Leonard Fournette is a beast to bring down.
Well,
by yourself.
I understand that.
But
And
they
they're gonna
might
run that.
start opening that up. I wouldn't disagree with that.
But Bill, all these years, why don't they dictate instead of react? Why is it always they're reacting instead of dictating, saying, hey, listen, this is what we're going to do. You're going to have to stop it.
I think they did a little bit of that yesterday when they ended up saying, hey, we're going to spy Justin Fields. We're going to make sure that he's not able to get away from us. We're going to set the edges, and we're going to let the guys up the gut come after him. And that's what they did in Preston Smith, getting a couple of sacks. Well, on one was a stunt moving in, and the other one was just crushing from the outside. And also when they did it with Rashawn Gary.
And
I don't think I agree with you. I don't think they did that all the time. That wasn't the game plan. But I agree with you. They can do more of that and bring more of that on occasion.
Now we got a punt returner that's so scared to make a mistake that he's half the time calling for fair catches when there's only one guy coming down where he can juke him and get out of the way. And then the other time he runs along the sidelines and he fumbles the ball. This guy's going to be like glass pretty soon.
Yeah.
He's really going to be scared.
The first fair catch, I tweeted, I said, why did he not return that? He had one guy coming down on him. It was a line drive bullet punt. He had about 10 yards of a gap between him and the defender, and he fair caught it. The next one, he actually, maybe he got my mental telepathy from the press box, and he returned it for 20 yards, which was a nice return. And then the one after that, he should have never caught because it was almost a muffed punt. It was like a shank almost, and he tried to catch it on the run. He ended up not getting his hands on it fully, and he boots it out of bounds after he drops the ball. So I agree with you. Right now, Amari Rodgers is still trying to find himself as a punt returner. He may not even be the guy that should be returning punts, to be honest with you. But if that's the best you have, that's all you got to go with.
Really, and Crosby, how is this going to affect us? Now we got a real punter for a change. Now how are we going to affect us when Crosby, when it gets colder out, and he's putting the ball on the goal line now, he can't get into the end zone. So what's going to happen when it gets colder and he's kicking off and it's going to land and it's going to come down to the 7 or 8 yard line? Think about that.
I agree.
Thinking about that stuff.
I wonder if he'll get better as the season goes on because that knee continues to heal.
Yeah,
but
Bill,
it was a huge. I agree
older.
with you. It was a huge difference in week 1 when you looked at what the Vikings were putting up versus what he was putting up. Because the Vikings, their kicker, I mean, when I was watching him in warmups, man, oh man, he was lighting it up from all. Joseph was fantastic, and don't forget he hit that long field with that 56-yarder. He hit a 56-yarder that was 10 yards up in the net. Mason Crosby hit a 55-yarder in practice that made it by about 7 yards over the crossbar. So you could see the difference in leg strength. He was still accurate. He was still putting it through the uprights, but he doesn't have that boom to it that some of these younger guys do. And I just wonder if that's still the remnants of the offseason surgery.
Yes. Yeah, it could be. Or it's just the we got to keep Crosby around because he's one of the guys. Yeah,
well, he's coming up on the end of his contract too eventually, and right now, if he's the best you got and the most accurate kicker you have, you kind of live with it.
Right.
But if he's not accurate, and I believe last year was more process than it was the kicker, and I think the kicker, the process got into his head by the end of the season. Because don't get me wrong, he missed kicks, but I think it was the process that led to that, and the fact that you couldn't rely on it on a consistent basis, which caused hiccups. And I think that a lot of that has gone away. Bringing in O'Donnell and the ability to hold and be better at that with that whole new process. So we'll see. We'll see it all play out. But it's their coverage. I don't mind if you're 2 yards deep in the end zone and you return a ball only to the 17, the 19, the 20, because you're still not getting it at the 25. But if you can consistently kick it for touchbacks, then that does kind of make things.
Yeah, the tackling on special teams seems to be better. That's what it looks like. It's better. Yeah. Okay. But still, you always have that chance where the guy's going to, my point is when it starts going 60 yards back or 50 yards back, that's what's scary. You see what I mean? Yep. I'm looking for the future. I'm looking at the playoffs.
Yep.
I'm not looking at the regular. In other words, I'm looking at the mistakes that could be made in the playoffs, looking at it now. So I'm going to see what's going to happen down the line. Right. That's the way I look at it because I don't look at this team regular season anymore.
Correct.
I don't look at that. I
Correct.
look at them what they're going to do in the playoffs.
100%.
That's it. That's what I look at.
100%.
All right, thanks, Bill.
All
I
right, buddy.
appreciate it.
Hey, some breaking news regarding the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as we all kind of thought after watching that skirmish breakout down in New Orleans yesterday. Mike Evans, the wideout for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, not available for the contest against the Green Bay Packers coming up on Sunday. He has been suspended for a game. So a little bit of information there. How about that? Suspended 1 game per Ian Rappaport and company. And unless he appeals it, which I don't think he'll be able to because he came running in and hit a player, whether it was a push and a shove that knocked him down or an actual punch. Once you take a physical account of another player, I think it's on an automatic 1-game suspension. So he will not be a part of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers weaponry when they face off against the Green Bay Packers coming up this weekend. Just an FYI. Hey, our friends at the Water Doctors in Waukesha, John Atley and the whole gang, the Connecticut Water Softening System, the best. Check it out. Go to h2theletterO-doctors.com. They do great things in the community. They also, by the way, do great things for veterans with the Custom Canine Service Dog Academy. But get a hold of my buddy, John Atley at the Water Doctors, 262-549-7733. 262-549-7733. I have this in my home. I swear by it. I use it. I'm not full of crap. I know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to this water softening system. It is the best. And I've had others, but this one by far is the best. 262-549-7733. That's the Water Doctors in Waukesha. John Atley is the owner. Call him direct, and also go to h2theletterO-doctors.com. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
One of the worst things that you can hear, you have cancer. The worst is when you hear the words, your child has cancer. When a child is diagnosed with cancer, it changes their world. Sometimes they can't even do things that they really love, like playing soccer, riding a bike, going to prom, attending school. Children with cancer spend a lot of time away from others, time in the hospital, treatments, tired, nauseous, and they feel isolated. That's where Special Spaces Wisconsin steps in. They provide these children with a special space where they can not only sleep, but they can play, they can heal, they can spend time away from the challenges of their illness. It's a customized room designed just for them. How about a princess castle or a pirate ship or a sports-themed bedroom? They transform that child's existing bedroom into a place that only he or she can imagine, a place for them just to be a kid. This effort is done with teams of dedicated volunteers and sponsors, just like our friends from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin and all the community partners. If you'd like to find out more or to donate, go to specialspaces.org. That is specialspaces.org.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Our friends over at Forgotten Fire Winery tipping one on a Victory Monday. Go to ForgottenFireWinery.com, ForgottenFireWinery.com. They're in Peshtigo, Wisconsin. But if you are out and about looking at a grocery store, liquor store, wine store, ask for it by name. And I had a couple people reach out over the last week or so and say, hey, I was up there, went to the winery and came away. One came away with a bottle of the Moscato, the other one with the Hot Mess, the Pinot Grigio. There was a Merlot. I think it was, I'm just looking here, it was Jeff. And Jeff, by the way, lives in Sheboygan, listens to the program every day on the app, and said, had a chance to go to Forgotten Fire Winery. What a bunch of great people. Bought their award-winning Merlot. You weren't kidding. Really good wines, but just a fun place to go. That is from our buddy Jeff. Jeff, appreciate it. I've been telling you, go in and get the Bill Michaels as well when you go there. When you go to the winery, say, I'm here, and I'm here because I heard it on the Bill Michaels show. They're not pretentious. They're not snooty, Midwestern charm at its finest, and they just like to call it fun in a bottle. Doesn't matter what kind of wine you like and what you like to do with it. Just enjoy yourself. Just enjoy yourself. That's the way they like to do it. It's our friends at Forgotten Fire Winery. Let's go back to the phone calls. Talk to our buddy Dwayne listening to us in Oshkosh. Dwayne, how you doing today, man? What's happening?
Well, 1-1. I think that's where we expected to be. Boy, it was nice to watch a running game again. I mean, that was just beautiful to see the two back sets and stuff like that. The only discouragement I would say is please do not have Dylan trying to run wide. You got a sledgehammer, you got an 18-wheeler, you don't drive it sideways down the highway, you drive it up the middle. And I just don't understand why they had so many wide plays for him. It was nice to see Rogers take the bullet for the handoff. He blamed himself. I don't know what happened on the reverse thing where Christian hit the ball, tipped the ball. I don't know if he didn't clear fast enough. Josh went too early on that.
Josh Myers went early. Josh Myers, it was a 2 count, and instead Josh Myers, and Roger said he had the brain fart. He snapped it on a 1 count, and Christian Watson should have been passed already when the ball was snapped, and instead he snapped it on the 1 count and hit Christian Watson in the hands with it. So that's what happened there.
And that's what I thought. I didn't think it was on Christian because my buddy from Arizona right away is like, "Oh, that Watson kid." I go, "That wasn't him." Little less use of the tight end, obviously, except for the blocking situations. Tanya will get involved eventually. Maybe even the other guy, the Davis kid. The thing that I really like to see is the fact that the slant came back. I thought, Cobb and Watkins. I mean, that was great football. They still got a little something in the tank. It was nice to see. I think eventually, you'll have to get the downfield game going. Dobbs and Watson and maybe even Omari will come in and that kind of thing. But this is not an offense that should be held down because when you can run a football like that, as you know from watching football forever, you run the football first to set up the pass. You don't pass to set up the run.
Right.
And this is the best running we've had in a long, long time. Defensively, we'll see. I mean, there's still some things that go on. I don't know if the run gaps are because Jerron Reed is getting used to his position on the line or what exactly is happening. I agree with you with Rashawn Gary. Rashawn Gary's doing what he's supposed to be doing. And when he beats a block, wow. It's pretty cool to see because he's definitely in the top 10 of those rush guys coming up in the league now. So but Tampa will be a real test, and I guess the one thing between Brady and Rodgers, these guys got to cool down, man. They're blowing gaskets on the sideline.
Well, and again, the funny thing is, if Brady does it, he's competitive. If Rodgers does it, he's petty. And I think both guys are very fiery. Both guys expect perfections. They expect a lot out of themselves as well. I think they approach it a little bit differently. Sometimes Brady's more humble as opposed to Rodgers, who's more pedestal pontification. But I agree. Last night was nice to hear Rodgers go, I screwed that up, and taking ownership for some things. So not that he shouldn't or didn't, but it was nice when everybody kind of held their breath and said, what happened on that? When we all assumed it was A.J. Dillon and went the wrong way, he came back and said, no, that was on me. So I agree with you. Yeah. But right now, I think it's this team is going to go through some growing pains, and you're going to see Rodgers explode and not be happy. But it depends on what you do with that anger. Do you turn it around and make it constructive, or do you just turn it around and make it detrimental? And I think that's where you'll see the growth throughout the rest of the season, depending on which way it goes.
And the one final thing, Bill, is I think what we're seeing in the league now, by the way, for these kids that see the Murray kid doing all this and say, oh, my gosh, well, go back to watch Brian Tarkenton. He did that every Sunday. The athletes playing quarterback as opposed to quarterbacks is what I'm seeing a lot more, not only at the college level, but even in the NFL level. The best precision in the NFL at quarterback is still in the pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And if your guy's running around for the rest of his life, they're not going to be very good. Yeah. And I agree with you on the Bears. They're not very good.
Not a very good football team. I agree.
They got a lot of work to do.
No doubt. Good stuff, man. Appreciate it. There you go. He drops off. You get on board. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Again, Mike Evans of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers suspended 1 game by the NFL. Now, here's the thing. Can he suspend it, or can he appeal it? Yes. It would be depending. He's expected to appeal the 1 game suspension. When they hear that appeal will depend on whether or not it stands. So he can, if he thinks that, say, this game is the tough one coming up against the Green Bay Packers and they're not going to hear the appeal until next week, well, then he can appeal it and still play in this game and still serve a 1-game suspension after the Packers game. If they want to hear it immediately, then they can hear it immediately. And chances are they're not going to overturn that. They're going to keep that 1-game suspension. He'll lose his appeal. I don't think there's any doubt about that. He didn't go out and punch a guy in the face, but the rules are pretty specific. When you go after a guy physically, detrimentally, during an altercation, that's an automatic 1-game suspension. So my assumption is that he's gonna get the 1-game suspension. And as Ben, you're pointing out the right thing. I mean, him and Lattimore have gotten into it before, years ago, and that's happened. So it's not as if this is the first time altercation between these two. This has been something that's been brewing for a while. Now, maybe they look upon Lattimore and say, well, you're pretty much a trash talker and you were going after everybody. But they're also going to look at Evans going, you know this. You exploded right there in front of God and everybody during a dead ball session. You went ahead and went after this guy, and they're going to suspend you for it because it turned into a melee after that, so to speak. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Don't forget about our friends at Wisconsin Harley-Davidson. Still riding season left. Still a lot of riding left to do. Hang on to it like grim death, my friends. And if you're a little bit cool, that's okay. They've got warm clothes to keep you there. That is Warm Motor Clothes. They've got parts. They've got accessories. And don't forget, if you're looking for a place to store your bike, cozy, warm, comfortable, keep the battery on a trickle charge, all that kind of stuff, Wisconsin Harley-Davidson, they store them as well. Start setting up your appointment now to get it out there, get it serviced in the wintertime, store it in the wintertime, get it all ready for riding season come next year. But if you need stuff for this season, go to wishd.com. That's wishd.com. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
One of the worst things that you can hear, you have cancer. The worst is when you hear the words, your child has cancer. When a child is diagnosed with cancer, it changes their world. Sometimes they can't even do things that they really love, like playing soccer, riding a bike, going to prom, attending school. Children with cancer spend a lot of time away from others, time in the hospital, treatments, tired, nauseous, and they feel isolated. That's where Special Spaces Wisconsin steps in. They provide these children with a special space where they can not only sleep, but they can play, they can heal, they can spend time away from the challenges of their illness. It's a customized bedroom designed just for them. How about a princess castle or a pirate ship or a sports-themed bedroom? They transform that child's existing bedroom into a place that only he or she can imagine. A place for them just to be a kid. This effort is done with teams of dedicated volunteers and sponsors, just like our friends from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin and all the community partners. If you'd like to find out more or to donate, go to specialspaces.org. That is specialspaces.org.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers beat the Bears 27-10 here at Lambeau Field. Green Bay now has beat Chicago 7 in a row, 12 of their last 13 games. Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon rushed for nearly 200 yards combined. Alan Lazard caught his first touchdown of the season after missing the opener and says before the play was called, he told the team to celebrate like they were having a tea party in the end zone.
I got the huddle. I was like, hey, after I scored a touchdown here, just so we could bring up the energy and the juice, I was like, I'm going to pour you guys some tea. I want you guys to drink the tea and do with it as you would like to. So we saw a variety of celebrations after drinking the tea.
Jair Alexander got the defense's first turnover of the season after he intercepted a pass intended for Equinemius St. Brown and says he plans to collect on a bet. Were they in zone or man coverage?
Yeah, it was man. I had to take them all the way across, so yes. I think it was a silent bet. You know, everybody owed me something.
What they owe you?
I can't say right now, but I'll let you know when they give it to me.
Sammy Watkins came up with a big 55-yard reception off a play-action pass from Aaron Rodgers in the fourth quarter.
Great play call by coaches, and I just freaking ran fast, and that was really simple, the easy part. But great play call. Defense was coming in the box. They think we run the ball, and we freaking literally on the 5-yard line, I think. And there was a gutsy play call by the coaches, and literally I just ran my route fast as I can, and Aaron laid it out there, and I just went up under it, ran up under it.
The Packers settled for only a field goal on that drive after scoring 24 points in the first half. Aaron Rodgers.
The second half was frustrating, but it's tough to win this league, so I'm very happy. Just like them, we expected to win this game. So, I'm not up here surprised about what happened. Felt like we had a good week of practice, and if we just played our game, that this was the type of outcome that could happen.
So the Packers are now 1-1 and head to Tampa. Chicago falls to 1-1 and will host the Texans. Bears head coach Matt Eberflus.
As I talk to the players in the locker room there, we still have our 24-hour rule. And when this happens, you have adversity, it stings and it hurts. And you have to soak that in.
That's the Bears' new head coach Matt Eberflus from Lambeau Field. I'm Mike Clemens on the Bill Michaels Show.
Welcome back. Top of the hour. Coming up next, we're going to hear a lot of discussion from inside the locker room. Going to hear from numerous people. We're going to hear Aaron Jones, Matt LaFleur, Aaron Rodgers, Matt Eberflus. Going to hear from Justin Fields, all coming up here in just a couple. So hang in there for that. Some of the thoughts coming out of the locker room. Don't forget, we got stock up, stock down about 35 minutes away. We'll talk about the weekend that was. Mike Clemens going to be joining us in the last hour of the program today as well. So we still have a lot to get to on a Packers Monday in which the Packers get a nice win. Not great, mind you, but a nice win. You take it. And one of the things, this was brought to my attention last night. There's two ways to go here. On one side, you can say, you know what? It was a win. They didn't play great football. They still don't look as great as you would hope. Okay. But also, don't really good teams win lackluster games? Right? that could possibly be that this is a really good team. This is a team that is going to win some of those, quote, ugly games. And when you win ugly games, it's because you're a really good team. So a couple of ways to look at it. We'll talk about that when we come back. Stay tuned. We got a lot more coming up. 2 hours down, 2 hours yet to go on this Monday, the day after the Green Bay Packers get a really nice win. Stick around. We're going to hear from inside the locker rooms, both sides. That's coming up next on the Bill Michaels Show.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers are 1-1 on the year. That's after a 27-10 win over Chicago last night. On offense, it was all about Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. The duo combined for 237 yards and 2 touchdowns, 170 yards, and both scores came courtesy of Jones. Green Bay's offense especially good in the second quarter when it scored 21 points. That included a pair of passing touchdowns from Aaron Rodgers. It was a mixed bag in the second half, though, turning the ball over and scoring just 3 points.
The second half was frustrating, but it's tough to win this league, so I'm very happy. Just like them, we expected to win this game. So, I'm not up here surprised about what happened. Felt like we had a good week of practice, and if we just played our game, that this was the type of outcome that could happen. But I'm disappointed in the second half.
Preston Smith had 2 sacks for the Packers defense and held the Bears to just 48 yards passing. That was the fewest they've given up since 2006. Jair Alexander capped the night with a diving interception. Packers now get back to work to start preparing for a trip to face Tampa Bay on Sunday. Turning to the Badgers, they've got a huge game this Saturday at number 3 Ohio State. Buckeyes favored by 18 points. The first time in the last 25 seasons the Badgers have been that big of an underdog.
Want to save even more at Fleet Farm? Well, now you can with Fleet Rewards. It's free to sign up, and there's no credit card required. Using Fleet Rewards is easy. Earn points every time you shop. Plus, get exclusive member offers, birthday and anniversary perks, free tire rotations, and more. Download the Fleet Farm app or create an account at fleetfarm.com/rewards to start earning points today. Fleet Farm, proudly serving the Midwest since 1955.
Well, the Brewers had to settle for taking 2 of 3 from the Yankees this weekend, losing 12-8 yesterday. They're going to welcome in the Mets for a series starting tonight. Milwaukee just 2 games back of Philadelphia for the final wildcard spot in the National League. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heilprin.
Good to have you. Hour number 3 of the Bill Michaels Show on this Monday. Packers get a win yesterday. Brewers couple over the weekend. Badgers, big win. We haven't really talked about that too much. Ben, your takeaway from what you witnessed when the Badgers throttled over the weekend? Anything in particular stand out?
There's not much there. I felt bad for New Mexico State's quarterback and a lot of their players, because it just wasn't a fair fight. My biggest takeaway is somehow there are 3 worse teams in college football than that team. Can't really wrap my head around how a team could be worse.
Right.
Backups look good, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say, in something like that, you can say everybody looked good because there really wasn't a lot of negative to discuss. But I guess you wanted to get that one under your belt. You wanted to get that one where you're really feeling good. Things worked. You can kind of feel it. But you also get a little bit of tape where you can say, okay, we've got this to clean up, that to clean up, because now it gets real. And I still don't think that the Buckeyes are as good as what they're being projected to be. I think right now they're living more on their their name. Well, don't get me wrong. Wins are wins, but the domination of wins, the way people expect, has not necessarily been there on the constant. So, not to say it's going to be an easy stretch by any stretch of the imagination, but I think the Badgers, I mean, they have to play flawless football, but they can hang with Ohio State. I don't see them getting blown out unless they make a ton of mistakes. If they make a ton of mistakes, then it's just pretty much over. But this is your litmus test now to find out how far you've come in a short period of time. Give me your thoughts on going into the shoe on Saturday.
Oof. I don't know. I mean, your Buckeyes are tough. It's one of those games where you need to play perfect. They can win it if they win the turnover battle by 2 or 3, but that's more of not fluky, but you need those things to bounce your way. You're going to need some sort of big defensive or special teams touchdown. Like, there's a reason they play the game, right? Yeah. But I think Ohio State is deserving of the 18-point favorite in this game. It's at night in the shoe. It's going to be tough. I think if they're able to hang with them for 4 quarters and maybe lose tight, I would come away.
Right.
It would be a win in a way, while it still is a loss. I don't feel great about it, but there is that little inkling in my head of, what if they just play perfectly? What if they go and do the impossible and get a win?
Yep. We shall see. We shall see. In the meantime, the Green Bay Packers get a nice win last night. Aaron Rodgers, he said, look, after the loss to the Vikings, the one thing you want to do anytime there's a loss, the one thing you want to do is get right back in there. You want to kind of get rid of that bad taste. He's been looking forward to playing the Bears.
I was really looking forward to it, yeah. Coach came out and said it, yeah, we're going to get you and AJ the ball more and get you guys more involved. So that just naturally put a smile on my face and know that I had to show up when my number was called, and that just pushes me that much harder.
Aaron Jones, by the way, not Aaron Rodgers, just so we are clear on that. I screwed that up. Much like Aaron Rodgers admitting he screwed up last night too. Matt LaFleur, after last week, he had said in his post-game presser when it was noted to him, hey, by the way, Aaron Jones only touched the ball 8 times. He said, no, that's unacceptable. We got to get him the ball more. So he was then asked, was he satisfied that he got enough carries for Aaron Jones? Remember, 38 touches between Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, but was he satisfied he got Aaron Jones enough carries against the Bears?
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed. What do you have, 18 touches? I think I'll tell you what, Aaron Jones, man, he was absolutely electric. Every time I think he was going down, he'd somehow find a way and squirt his way through. And he's just a hell of a competitor. And he's a guy that just embodies everything that you want in a football player.
So Aaron Rodgers then at the podium last night was asked about, regrets and fire in the belly and still being competitive after all these years and still, fired up against the Bears. Here's what he talked about when he was talking about the discussion of Super Bowl wins and fire and competitiveness and such.
Yeah, I'm definitely still as competitive as ever. Obviously, I'd love to be up here, multi-Super Bowl winner, and we had opportunities, and we'll live with those as we move down the line and think about it, especially a little more in 5 or 10 or 15 years. But I do feel like there's a lot of pride in the journey, and it's fun to still be on the journey.
As long as he's engaged, I don't think you're because he's always going to be a competitive guy. But as long as he's engaged, I don't think you're ever going to have to worry about the competitiveness of Aaron Rodgers. I don't know why that question was thrown out unless you're working an angle of a story, which you can appreciate, but not after a game like that. I mean, it's like, come on, you get your first win of the season and you ask the question of, you have any regrets that you don't have more Super Bowl wins? That's something that you ask when somebody says, hey, it's time for me to hang it up. You know what I mean? In the other locker room, Matt Eberflus on what he said to his team after, the first loss in the NFL, as a head coach, so to speak.
As I talk to the players in the locker room there, we still have our 24-hour rule. And when this happens, you have adversity, it stings and it hurts. And you have to soak that in because, it's the same thing with victory. You only can hold on to that for so long, then you got to let it go.
So the Bears, by the way, in case you didn't know, you weren't following at home, 11 pass attempts. That's it. 11. Not much at all. And last week, obviously, they were playing in a monsoon, but their passing game itself is not good, especially when you got a quarterback who, looks, and then tucks and runs. He's more, quote, athletic, which can be a negative connotation more often than not when you talk about quarterback play. Because it means you've got all the tools, but you haven't necessarily realized your success yet. So he was asked, with only 11 pass attempts again, is this Bears offense in the first couple of games you've witnessed, are they just really one-dimensional? It all goes through the legs of Justin Fields.
Yeah, I mean, I always think that on offense you have to have balance. So we're gonna have to look at that, and we'll look at that, as we assess the game and evaluate the game, but man, the way we were running it, we were running it really well, and we were still in the game at that point. So we were going with what was working for us.
Justin Fields, on the other hand, after the impressive opening scoring drive when they just went straight like a hot knife through butter, they took on the Packers. Packers, by the way, 0 for 2 in opening drives so far this season. We're going to have to keep our eye on that. But what the hell happened after that?
I think, we had, penalties. I think that, stopped our momentum a little bit. So I think the main thing with that is just can't shoot ourselves in the foot. We got to stay on track on first and second down and just keep ourselves out of third and longs.
Was he surprised? Now, Luke Getsy, obviously the former quarterback's coach for Aaron Rodgers, comes into the Chicago Bears situation and tries to bring a portion of the playbook to Chicago. So was Justin Fields surprised that Luke Getsy called so many running plays specifically for David Montgomery?
Yeah, Luke said, before the game that we were going to run it down the throats. And, Demo, I don't know what he ate today, but, he was running the ball crazy. So, O-line did a great job blocking, and, he did a great job running. But, my job isn't to call the plays. My job is to execute the play that's given to me the best I can.
So then you've got Justin Fields. He talks about losing to the Pack. Ben, do you have the audio of this?
Yes.
Okay.
I do.
So, and I wanted to be sure before I said that, but there's a lot of things that you can say about your fan base. Supportive, you want them to get loud, we can do better, but you try to edge them upward, right? He did just the opposite. He kind of took a little bit of a swipe at Bears fans. Take a listen to what he had to say.
It hurts more in the locker room than the Bears fans. Because at the end of the day, they're not putting in any work. I see the guys in the locker room every day. I see how much work they put in. So,
if you caught that, when he said it hurts more in the locker room than for the Bears fans, they aren't putting in any work. Now, I understand what he's trying to say. It hurts here. We really hurt. Bears fans don't think we don't hurt about a loss like this because we're the ones that put in the blood, sweat, and tears. He's not saying, you guys don't care about us. But also remember, it's callousness in the sense that the Bears have been so bad for so long. So it's kind of like, he could be taking the backhanded swipe and saying, well, you guys are accepting of sub-mediocrity. Here's the acceptance factor in all of this. But I get what he's trying to say. He's not trying to backhanded slap the Bears fans. But it's certainly coming across that way. It's certainly coming across that way. Anytime you involve the fans, you got to praise them. Unless the fans are absolutely unruly, terrible. And even so, like Packers fans, the first preseason game, Packers fans were raucous, man. But it's when the Packers with Jordan Love were on offense. And you got to know when to be raucous and when not to be raucous. You want to be loud. You want to just get into the heads of the opponent during their, the Packers defensive stands. But what you don't want to do is be loud and crazy during the offensive stands because you want to make it easier on the offense to do their job. You don't want to become a hindrance. So I get that. You got to say, man, I love the enthusiasm. Just, give us some quiet when we're on offense. Get crazy on defense. That's fine. That's constructive. But yet you're still propping them up. What he said seems like a swipe, even though it's not. Even though it's not. But I get it. I get why fans are upset. Because they're thinking this guy's taking a swat at us, saying we don't put in the work. Well, yeah, but what he's saying is, hey, the Bears fans don't take it as to heart as we do, because we're the ones in here every day putting in the work. We're the ones doing the blood, sweat, and tears each week to get ready for these contests. So yeah, we tend to have more, emotions in it, if you will. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. By the way, the Mike Evans situation, Mike Evans, when he ran out on the field, he's been suspended one game, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers wideout. But if you saw the commentary during the incident, he said, quote, "That's Tom Brady. What do you want me to do?" So, in other words, when Lattimore went after Tom Brady, that's when Mike Evans stepped in and attacked Lattimore. And I say attacked in the sense of just coming at him and pushing him, knocking him to the ground, which led to the melee. So his argument is going to be he was coming after our quarterback. The league protects quarterbacks. However, Lattimore in no way, shape, or form ever physically went after Tom Brady. He mouthed off to him. Evans is not going to win that appeal. Now, whether that appeal is heard this week or in weeks to come, we'll wait and see. But I know at least the rumors are that he's going to appeal the suspension to still try and be able to play and maybe get it knocked down to a huge fine. But I would be somewhat surprised if they knock that suspension down. I would be surprised. No doubt. Let's do this. Coming up, bottom of the hour, stock up, stock down. That's coming up. Mike Clemens coming up in the next hour as well. Going to talk more about this Green Bay Packers team. Phone lines wide open. Get back into some of the phone calls. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Hang in there. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Wisconsin isn't snobby, snooty, or pretentious. It's Midwestern charm at its finest. And that's exactly what Forgotten Fire Winery in Peshtigo is all about. Fun in a bottle without the attitude. You can find their full wine and cider lineup in their tasting room or in liquor and grocery stores throughout the state. The winery is a great place to get away for wine and cider tastings, great live music, and private events all year long. Remember, any time is a great time for Forgotten Fire wines and ciders. Wisconsin wine made from Wisconsin people.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
I got an email, and this is from Stacy. Stacy, by the way, listening to us in Manitowoc, says, love having you back in the Green Bay area. Appreciate it. She said, my boyfriend was listening to the program and went to the Buy Like a Guy podcast, ended up going to Kane & Kane Jewelers, and we got engaged over the weekend. Now, that's awesome. Stacy, I'm so happy for you. That's awesome. Kane & Kane Jewelers. Now, if you went from Manitowoc to West Bend, that's serious. Oh yeah, by the way, because that's a little bit of a drive, but it's worth it. I've been telling you, it's worth it. Kane & Kane Jewelers, family-owned jewelry store. The Hearts on Fire Diamond is primo, and they are right there in West Bend. So congratulations that you guys got engaged. Now, where did he do it, Stacey? You didn't include that, so let me know. Where did he? Did you do it like at Lambeau over the weekend? Or was it, over on the lake shores with the sunset or sunrise coming up in the background or something? Or was there something else? Because I'd love to know. But that's awesome. It's awesome when stuff like that happens and it involves one of our sponsors. Because our sponsors are not only our sponsors, but they're our friends. And they truly are. I can't think of any sponsor that we have that we don't know pretty well, or aren't friends, or we haven't hung out and broke bread or whatever. I mean, I can count maybe on 3 fingers. Everybody else, I think we sit down and rap with, dine with, drink with everybody else. They're great people, but good for you. Kane & Kane Jewelers in West Bend. You can also go to the Buy Like a Guy podcast over on Instagram as well. Buy Like, B-U-Y, Buy Like a Guy. That's there as well. Good stuff. Thanks for sharing. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Let's get back at it. Let's go to phone calls. Mike listening to us in West Dallas. Mike, how you doing today, buddy? What's happening?
I'm doing great. How's it going, Bill?
I'm good today. Tired, but good. I'll get some sleep tomorrow, tonight into tomorrow. But other than that, I'm good.
Absolutely. It's so great to have football back on Sundays, that's for sure. So I got 3 points about the game on Sunday. So kind of piggybacking off of a little bit of your sound bites from earlier this hour.
Mm-hmm.
So far this season, Aaron Jones is averaging 9 yards a carry. 9 yards a carry.
Right.
Guess how much A.J. Dillon is averaging? 3.8 yards a carry. Yet A.J. Dillon is getting more touches this season than Aaron Jones. Make that make sense to me. To me, A.J. Dillon is a more talented version of Jamal Williams. He's a between the tackles, ground and pound kind of guy, but he lacks explosiveness. And this offense right now, it lacks explosive playmakers. And Aaron Jones is clearly their most explosive and their best offensive player. Therefore, I think the split going forward should be 70-30, Aaron Jones to A.J. Dillon, or at worst 60-40, because he's the better running back, and I don't think there's really a debate on that.
He has the most explosive capability. He's got the quickness, he's got the speed, and he's breakaway. A.J. Dillon grinds on you, which is the reason I think you do use, maybe you split it up a little bit wider like you'd stated, but he's the guy that grinds on you. and just punishes you for getting in the way. And that's the reason they like the quote thunder and lightning use of A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones.
He's just going to grind on you.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you, Bill. I think there's a lot of value in that because it wears the defense down. And then when Aaron Jones gets in there, it looks like he's shot out of a cannon in the backfield, and it kind of surprises the defense. But anyways, going forward, Jones, he needs to be the vocal point. He needs to get more touches versus A.J. Dillon. Number two, all the talk in the preseason from Aaron Rodgers, Allen Lazard is going to be this great number one wide receiver. Well, what did he do yesterday? He had 2 catches for 13 yards.
He also hurt his ankle yesterday.
Oh, yep, that's true. Earlier,
yeah, because early on in the game, he got tackled and hit pretty weird, and ended up coming up limping. Now he was on the sideline. I had noted it on Twitter that he was trying to shake it off, but he was clearly hampered after that. So that might be part of the reason they only had a couple of catches.
Sure. But Romeo Doubs, I mean, I know they threw them, those 2 bubble screen passes, and he made some good moves, but that guy looks like their most explosive wide receiver other than Christian Watson.
I would agree with that.
I think both him and Christian Watson, they need to get more playing time going forward. I mean, all these rookies, I mean, we saw what Garrett Wilson did yesterday for the Jets. We saw what Chris Olave did yesterday for the Saints. Rookie wide receivers can make a huge impact. You just have to give them an opportunity. And clearly Doubs and Watson are probably their 2 most talented wide receivers. So they need to get more playing time going forward.
I agree.
And it was nice to see that Watkins isn't completely washed because he did have a nice game yesterday. I've been hard on him, so I do have to give him credit for that.
Yeah.
And number 3, my last point is I think I was completely wrong about Rashawn Gary. When they drafted him, I think a lot of people were, but that guy looks like a legitimate threat for Defensive Player of the Year this year. He's got 2 sacks through 2 games. He's explosive. That tandem of him and Smith on the edges is going to be devastating for defenses all season long. And I've just loved his progression throughout the last 3 years, and that's looking like the steal of the draft. At 12, because he probably should have been a top 5 draft pick based off what he's done so far.
He continues to get better. I would agree. I don't know if he's going to end up with Defensive Player of the Year, but he's certainly an impact player. He's far exceeded my expectations, which I've stated time and again. And now you throw a guy that goes sideline to sideline like Quay Walker into the mix, and then you have the smarts and the ability of a guy like Devondre Campbell. Once that group really starts to materialize and mature, I mean, you don't even rely at this point on Devontae Wyatt. You're not even worried about him right now. Your first round draft choice, he only had 4 snaps yesterday. You don't even worry about him at this point. You've got beef up front to maneuver in and out. Jerron Reed's playing pretty well. Kenny Clark has always played Kenny Clark style of football. Dean Lowry, I was a little surprised, kind of got it handed to him a couple of times yesterday early on in that ball game. They were crushing him, and then finally he began to stalemate as soon as they started running guys in and out. But I really believe when that front starts to come together and they start to feel it, that this will be the defense, at least for the most part, that we've all expected at the beginning of the season, at least on paper.
Sure, absolutely. And one more point going off of what you just said. One thing the only disappointment I had yesterday was the run game. They really struggled in the run game. I mean, Montgomery, that guy's a pretty average, decent running back, and it made him look like a Hall of Famer yesterday. So I don't really understand that because they have so much talent with Clark, Reed, and then Quay Walker and Devondre Campbell that shouldn't be happening.
Right.
So I think that is something that needs to be looked at with the defensive coordinator. I don't know if it's the scheme that they're playing, that they're only playing 2 down linemen and then 4, linebackers, but they need to get better in that area because that's going to be their Achilles heel in the playoffs going forward if we saw what we did yesterday.
Nope. So. I would agree with it, man. Appreciate the phone call as always. Yeah. Yesterday, excuse me, early on that first drive, they went after the right side of that defense. And they went for a 12-yard gain, or excuse me, a 4-yard gain around the right side, then back to the left, and they threw the ball. Then they went around the right end for 12 yards, or actually 13 yards. And then David Montgomery ended up going to the right end for 9 yards. And then Justin Fields goes around the right end for 3 yards. So clearly they were attacking the right side of that defense. After that, though, after that opening drive, while there is criticism, and I understand it, but it was 3 and out for -2 yards, 3 and out for -2 yards, 3 and out for 4 yards, and then the end of the half came for a total of 3 yards. They gained a total of, what was it, I think 3 yards in the second quarter. So defensively speaking, now again, they weren't perfect. They had flaws, and they showed those flaws. But the Packers gave up in the second quarter, after that opening drive went 71 yards. They gave on 4 consecutive drives after that a total of 3 yards. The Packers did. Second half started out, first drive, another 3 and out, giving up only 7 yards. Then the defense fell apart a little bit. I honestly think they kind of felt like the game was over at that point with 9:13 to go in the third quarter. I think they looked at it and went, this thing's over. We're kicking their ass. That's when the Bears got off. They went 7 plays, 43 yards, a couple of first downs, but the Packers, with their backs against the wall, stymied and only gave up a field goal. Because then the next time the Bears got the ball, they go 13 yards, or 13 plays, 94 yards, total of 89 after the penalty. But remember, then they stiffened again, and they didn't allow Justin Fields into the end zone, thus turning the ball over on downs. So ultimately, for those drives, really the 2 big drives, the 89-yard drive and the 71-yard drive, the bookends of the game, if you will, in the middle, the Packers defensively played extremely well. But they showed, this was, I said this last time, I'll say it again today, this was the kind of game coaches love. You get a win, you kind of get a win going away. It's a little bit of a nail biter, but it's a win. But you did enough bad things or flawed things that you can now just kind of grind that tape. You can keep winding it back and say, yeah, we got to win, but here, be positive. Hey, it's a win, first win of the season. Great job. And you stiffened when you needed to. You held them to 3. You stiffened on the goal line. You did what you needed to do to get a win. Fantastic. But here you go. And then you start running that clicker back and forth. Well, I use clicker term. That's an old one. But you start running that thing back and forth on that Surface Pro. Back, forth. You start looking at all the time you got blocked downfield. Or an arm tackle on David Montgomery, which we saw numerous yesterday on that late drive in the ballgame, that 89-yard drive. Numerous. So that coaches love this type of game. Just love this type of game. Stock up, stock down. Stock up, stock down. It's coming up. Speaking of stock up, coming off of last year's Calder Cup run, they didn't get there, but they got their first series win in a long time, and I still think they're a damn good hockey team. You're going to see some hockey coming right around the corner. The Milwaukee Admirals. Go to MilwaukeeAdmirals.com, whether it's for single-game tickets, season tickets, promotional nights, things like that, or group outings, whatever. It's always a lot of fun. Good hockey, too. Their parent club is the Nashville Predators, but they play a lot of good hockey. That's MilwaukeeAdmirals.com. Go to MilwaukeeAdmirals.com. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
One of the worst things that you can hear, you have cancer. The worst is when you hear the words, your child has cancer. When a child is diagnosed with cancer, it changes their world. Sometimes they can't even do things that they really love, like playing soccer, riding a bike, going to prom, attending school. Children with cancer spend a lot of time away from others, time in the hospital, treatments, tired, nauseous, and they feel isolated. That's where Special Spaces Wisconsin steps in. They provide these children with a special space where they can not only sleep, but they can play, they can heal, they can spend time away from the challenges of their illness. It's a customized bedroom designed just for them. How about a princess castle or pirate ship or a sports-themed bedroom? They transform that child's existing bedroom into a place that only he or she can imagine, a place for them just to be a kid. This effort is done with teams of dedicated volunteers and sponsors, just like our friends from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin and all the community partners. If you'd like to find out more or to donate, go to specialspaces.org. That is specialspaces.org.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Enjoying the day today. Nice weather. Liking it. Liking it a lot, as a matter of fact. Tonight's one of those nights, just getting back and trying to get back into the swing of things a little bit, where you just want to. I'm most likely, my day, you can almost peg it if you listen to the program. I have just got back. I got a ton of laundry that I'm going to do, and you just kind of decompress after being gone for over a week. And tonight I've got one stop to make. I still have not even pulled the motorcycle out of the trailer yet, and I'm going to do that after I get off the air today. But then I'm going to take the motorcycle, take it down to Robert's Specialty Meats. I'm getting one of those personal Al Capone roasts. Going to bring it back, grill it up, nice salad. I'm on trying to be on the relative fitness train now. Nice salad, and I don't know if I'm going to do anything beverage wise, but maybe a cigar, sit out back and watch some of the football tonight in prime time, and that's gonna be about it. And then I'm gonna go to bed, unless of course one of my neighbors wake me up sleeping on the patio or something like that. I don't know. Yes.
Oh, you sit back and root for the Eagles. What a perfect night.
I wouldn't mind that, because tonight you've got a lot of Eagles fans in the state of Wisconsin, Ben. You are not alone.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
it's one of the best sights I've seen.
Yeah, you've got a lot of Eagles fans in the state of Wisconsin, but tonight anyway. But that's pretty much the plan tonight. I have nothing else. I have no desire to do anything else. Just came home and just bleh. That was about the extent of it. I do have to stop down that way anyway. I got to go to the post office. Had a package delivered over the weekend, and I'm not sure. Do you ever order stuff and you don't know what the hell you ordered? And it shows up at your house, and
no,
yeah, I've got a package. It requires a signature. So, and I ordered something. I can't remember what the hell I ordered. I don't know if it was equipment for the show or what it was. No idea. So something was delivered yesterday, and I was talking to the mail person, and I'm like, go ahead and just leave it. I'll be home later tonight. They're like, nope, got to have a signature. Sorry. I'm like, but I own the house. I'm talking to you through my alarm system. If I didn't own the house, I wouldn't be doing that. It's okay. Nope, got to have a signature. Okay. Oh, so they wouldn't leave it outside.
Certainly, if you have a huge package.
Yes, thank you very much. That's what it was. She was carrying it massively under her arm. I don't know what it was. There you go. So anyway, my point being is I'm going to stop down and see my buddy Paul Roberts and Robert's Specialty Meats down in Waukesha. Grab the Al Capone roast and just make it, whether it's a tailgate type of party or you're just going to enjoy yourself like I am tonight. They have something for everybody. They're your hometown butcher. That's Robert's Specialty Meats Waukesha.com. Robert's Specialty Meats Waukesha.com. Now, time for stock up and stock down. And this one, Ben, I'm going to start out with stock down.
Whoa. I have music, Bill.
Oh, my God. Give it to me.
It was expedited on Amazon Prime this weekend.
Okay.
It's time for Stock Up, Stock Down.
The key feature here is speed, trying to follow what's going on in the market so that we can anticipate and catch trends as they occur.
From this week of football.
I like it. We have an intro now. Stock up and stock. What we now need is a stock analyst or someone in the financial world to step forward and sponsor this portion of the program as we do stock up and stock down. But I like it. I like it a lot. I'm going to start with stock down. And it couldn't have been any more on display than the mad joy that was then kicked squarely in the nuts in Lincoln, Nebraska. Mickey Joseph, the interim head coach of the Cornhuskers after Scott Frost was subsequently fired, and rightfully so. They get off to that fast start. They're up 7-0. It is Lincoln, Nebraska is going nuts, and Gus Johnson's making a big deal about the traditional walk to the field. And I'm thinking to myself, boy, you're building this up because Nebraska hasn't been crap for decades. Come on, man. You're acting like it's the Gladiators coming out of the Coliseum. I'll even go stock down on Gus Johnson for that crap, that hype. Then Oklahoma.
I don't know.
Well,
I'm in wait and see mode with Nebraska because if they hire Urban Meyer, I might have to buy.
I don't know.
Just for pure entertainment.
Yeah, I don't know. But I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this, though. The ass kicking of 49-14 after that initial drive was embarrassing. Their defense sucks, and they got destroyed. Okay, now, Ben Kenny, you go.
Gus Johnson didn't even call the second half of that game. That's going very under talked about. My first stock up from the weekend is me. I at the end of Sunday night, I won 3 fantasy leagues because the Aaron Rodgers flip to Aaron Jones was a run and not a pass. So they score the touchdown. All is great.
Yeah.
And I won my fantasy leagues.
It was a run, not a pass. You are correct, by the way. They switched it in the press box. So we knew eventually it would get switched out everywhere else. But because I had people saying, no, that was a pass. I'm saying, no, it was technically a run. But they switched it in the press box. So we knew that was coming. But there you go, fantasy. You know what's funny? I didn't even check my fantasy. Didn't even check it to see if I was still in the guillotine league. Didn't even see. By the way, I was leading last week coming out of week 1. When the hell does that happen? But I was leading. Okay, I have dropped to 5th place, but I am still in the league. Doing okay.
Speaking of stock down and your quarterback on that team, your boy Burrow.
Joe Burrow's.
I mean, the Bengals, stinky, really bad on Sunday.
Here's the thing. Joe Burrow, not good. Okay, I get that. His numbers are terrible. He's now spooked. That guy is the most sacked quarterback in the National Football League. And so I'm going to say another stock down is to the magnanimous brain trust between Mike Brown and his hat, I guess, who made the pickups. And sometimes you can pick up good players, but you can't pick up chemistry. So they thought they bolstered the offensive line in the offseason. They suck. They're worse. How in the world do you get worse than what you were last year? The most hit quarterback in football to this point. Joe Burrow, stock down. Joe Burrow right now, who is killing me, Whitey. You're killing me in fantasy right now, even though I'm still in it. I'm doing okay. But Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, stock down, man. Damn, hurting me. Go ahead, Ben.
Let's get positive here. Stock up my Detroit Lions, the darlings of the NFL. Pick up, first of all, first game they were favored in 25 contests. They pick up a big win at home. Amon-Ra St. Brown looks amazing. The offense is almost unstoppable. And Carson Wentz did some heroics after handing the game away. But the Lions are fired up. They got a football team there.
The Lions are playing for Dan Campbell. They have become the darlings of the National Football League after Hard Knocks, and not bad overall. So far, anyway, not bad. By the way, Joe Burrow, I had said he leads the league. I'm not kidding. He leads the league. He has been sacked 13 times.
Oof.
13 times already. 13 times already this season. And when you talk about throwing accuracy, he's off. He's only 38.2%, and throws where he's actually gotten the pass off, but yet been hit. He has now been hit 22 times. 22 times. That is like every play on a series throughout an entire game. He's getting messed up. Okay, there you go. So that's enough about Joe Burrow. Stock down. Or no, excuse me. Stock up. Trevor Lawrence. Look at what Trevor Lawrence did against the Indianapolis Colts. He's finally got a guy that knows what the hell he's talking about when it comes to the quarterback position. 25 of 30, 235 yards, 2 touchdowns, not sacked. 121.5 quarterback rating. Not sacked. He looks like he's listening. He's channeling his inner Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson's a whisperer right now, more so than Mike McCarthy, even though Cooper Rush got a win, but more so than Mike McCarthy. But Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence had a good game this week. Stock is up.
Oh, so that's one side of it, what a head coach with a pulse can do to your organization. On the other side, Nathaniel Hackett's start in Denver has been, let's say, less than positive. The fans at the game yesterday were chanting the play clock because they got so many delay of game penalties throughout the day. They beat the Texans like 16-9, but there are too many men on the field during punts. They don't send someone back to return punts. It is all bad at this point. Early returns, extremely negative on Hackett.
And you got to do another one. You got to do one more stock up because you would be completely erroneous in this world if you didn't recognize the effort of Tua yesterday. 36 of 50 50. Tariq Hill, 11 catches, 190 yards, a couple of touchdowns. Tua throws for 469 yards, 6 touchdowns. Now, he did have 2 picks. But 6 touchdowns yesterday and beats Lamar Jackson, who also had a great day yesterday. He carried the ball 9 times for 119 yards, had a 79-yard touchdown run, 21 of 29, 318 yards, and threw for 3 touchdowns and still got beat. Tua, stock up.
Love it. My last one, my infatuation with the Iowa Hawkeyes this season.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they finally scored touchdowns, and then Mother Nature, God, decided to cast the lightning upon the stadium because this world cannot see a competent Iowa offense. They had 6 hours of lightning delays. The game finished at 3 a.m., but they scored more than 7 points as a team. I think that should be commended.
Thor, the god of lightning and thunder, does not like Iowa. There you go. Enough said. Good stuff. Stock up, stock down. That's the way we do it on a Monday after a hell of a weekend. Stay tuned. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. It's all coming up right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
In our own backyard, Humburg, Wisconsin, there's a 3rd-generation family farm, Scholze Family Beef. They've been supplying us with great chop steaks, roast burgers, and so much more for a long time now. But did you know they've got a good old-fashioned family farm store right there on site? I encourage you, drive your truck or your car, that's good. But they've got ATV and UTV trails right there. So moto on up to the family farm store after a great day on the trails and get your grill on. Go to ScholzeFamilyBeef.com. That's Scholze, SCHOLZE, FamilyBeef.com. One of the worst things that you can hear, you have cancer. The worst is when you hear the words, your child has cancer. When a child is diagnosed with cancer, it changes their world. Sometimes they can't even do things that they really love, like playing soccer, riding a bike, going to prom, attending school. Children with cancer spend a lot of time away from others. Time in the hospital, treatments, tired, nauseous, and they feel isolated. That's where Special Spaces Wisconsin steps in. They provide these children with a special space where they can not only sleep, but they can play, they can heal, they can spend time away from the challenges of their illness. It's a customized bedroom designed just for them. How about a princess castle or a pirate ship or a sports-themed bedroom? They transform that child's existing bedroom into a place that only he or she can imagine, a place for them just to be a kid. This effort is done with teams of dedicated volunteers and sponsors, just like our friends from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin and all the community partners. If you'd like to find out more or to donate, go to specialspaces.org. That is specialspaces.org.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers beat the Bears 27-10. Last week, Matt LaFleur pledged he would get Aaron Jones more carries after the loss in Minnesota. Last night, Jones scored 2 touchdowns, one on a run, another on a short pass. LaFleur after the game.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed. What do you have, 18 touches? I'll tell you what, Aaron Jones, man, he was absolutely electric. Every time I think he was going down, he'd somehow find a way and scored his way through, and he's just a hell of a competitor.
Jones finished with a combined 170 yards total offense and was asked if he was looking forward to the Bears game after the loss in Minnesota.
I was really looking forward to it, yeah. Coach came out and said it, yeah, we're going to get you and AJ the ball more and get you guys more involved. So that just naturally put a smile on my face and know that I had to show up when my number was called, and that just pushes me that much harder.
The Bears had a good opening drive, going 71 yards in just 7 plays and scoring on a Justin Fields run into the end zone. But Fields ended up only throwing 11 passes in the game, the rest all running plays. Did their offense under Luke Getzey become one-dimensional? Head coach Matt Eberflus.
Yeah, I mean, I always think that on offense you have to have balance. So we're gonna have to look at that, and we'll look at that, as we assess the game and evaluate the game. But man, the way we were running it, we were running it really well. We were going with what was working for us.
After the Bears touchdown, the Packers defense shut down Chicago. Did they make any adjustments to the game plan? I asked Preston Smith.
No, we just made sure that we made those mistakes, man. It was a lot of mistakes that was made on that first drive that, a lot of people wouldn't know, but internally we know that we had to play more sound and move faster and play more with a sense of urgency. And we came out there and after those drives, we played with sense of urgency, got lined up, played, and made sure that we didn't make a lot of mistakes again.
That's Packers outside linebacker Preston Smith. From Lambeau Field, I'm Mike Clemens on The Bill Michaels Show.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers are 1-1 on the year. That's after a 27-10 win over Chicago last night. On offense, it was all about Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. The duo combined for 237 yards and 2 touchdowns, 170 yards, and both scores came courtesy of Jones. Green Bay's offense especially good in the second quarter when it scored 21 points. That included a pair of passing touchdowns from Aaron Rodgers. It was a mixed bag in the second half, though, turning the ball over and scoring just 3 points.
The second half was frustrating, but it's tough to win this league, so I'm very happy. Just like them, we expected to win this game. So, I'm not up here surprised about what happened. Felt like we had a good week of practice, and if we just played our game, that this was the type of outcome that could happen. But I'm disappointed in the second half.
Preston Smith had 2 sacks for the Packers defense and held the Bears to just 48 yards passing. That was the fewest they've given up since 2006. Jair Alexander capped the night with a diving interception. Packers now get back to work to start preparing for a trip to face Tampa Bay on Sunday. Turning to the Badgers, they've got a huge game this Saturday at number 3 Ohio State. Buckeyes favored by 18 points. The first time in the last 25 seasons the Badgers have been that big of an underdog.
Want to save even more at Fleet Farm? Well, now you can with Fleet Rewards. It's free to sign up, and there's no credit card required. Using Fleet Rewards is easy. Earn points every time you shop. Plus, get exclusive member offers, birthday and anniversary perks, free tire rotations, and more. Download the Fleet Farm app or create an account at fleetfarm.com/rewards to start earning points today. Fleet Farm, proudly serving the Midwest since 1955.
Well, the Brewers had to settle for taking 2 of 3 from the Yankees this weekend, losing 12-8 yesterday. They're going to welcome in the Mets for a series starting tonight. Milwaukee just 2 games back of Philadelphia for the final wildcard spot in the National League. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heilprin.
Welcome back. Glad to have you. The Bill Michaels Show. We continue on. Hopefully you are enjoying your day, as always. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. If you want to hit us up, feel free to go ahead and do so. For sure. By the way, we are going to get into all of it from yesterday with Mike Clemens coming up here in just a little bit. Looking forward to it. Let's see here. Got a couple things that I wanted to get to. Got some emails, too, that came in today that I have neglected, we'll say. This one is from our buddy Steve, who says, Tampa Bay, but do you think that Mike Evans will be suspended? Yes, Steve, he was. And I'm sure you probably sent this prior to the announcement, but no doubt. Also says, happy Monday. Welcome back. I hope you had a great time at Tomahawk. I was wondering if you took the route I recommended west on Highway 8 to Y and follow Y until it comes back to 51. Beautiful drive by the car or the bike. We didn't. To answer your question, no, Steve. I've done that. I know what you're talking about, but we didn't do a ton of riding. It was a little drizzly on Friday. Kristen had to work. She ended up in an unexpected conference call. I got to admit, when I got to Tomahawk Wednesday, I didn't do much of anything. I just was breathing a little bit. Thursday, went into town and saw some people and sponsored some stuff at the VFW hall. I shouldn't say sponsor, but I went in. I always support the VFW every time I go there. So went to the VFW hall on Thursday and Friday. Did one of the gathered rides up north. And then that was really about it. We just kind of went to dinner. We just took it easy, tried to lay low a little bit. Then Saturday was the big day. And I'll talk more about that coming up here in a couple of minutes. But Saturday was really kind of the big day. He said, I'll give LaFleur credit for sticking to his word and getting the backs more involved. Aaron Jones was spectacular. It was obvious that they were ecstatic to have Elton Jenkins back at right tackle. I totally agree with you on Rashawn Gary. Had a great game. He's going to be in Tom Brady's face next Sunday. As far as Justin Fields is concerned, he's a very good athlete, but not a good quarterback. Typical Ohio State guy, average at best. Name the best quarterback to come out of Ohio State. The best quarterback to come out of Ohio State, could you say Dwayne Haskins or Arch Schleister? I mean, think about it. You got, Mike Tomczak had success with the Bears.
Kirk Herbstreit?
No. No.
Well, that shows you how poor it's been.
Yeah, no. Not even close. Kirk is one hell of an analyst and a broadcaster, but no. But the best quarterback was probably Mike Tomczak to have sustainability and some type of impact. But no, it was Art Schlichter prior to that. And remember, he ruined his career with betting and the gambling issues that he had. And then he went into the USF or into the Arena League, and he stole the checkbook of the Cincinnati Rockers and wrote checks to bookies for his bad debts. There's so much there that he just threw completely. I remember when I did, I was doing rock radio. I was in Columbus, Ohio, and Art Schlichter, there was a place called Damon's, and it was just south, and I can't remember the name of the town that it was in, but it was just south of the city. And we had a sports guy on our rock station. His name was Mark the Shark. And Mark the Shark was back when Damon's was a barbecue place, a rib place. And they had like theater style seating, and they would have, and that's back when, big screen TVs were first really kind of coming into bars. And they had 4 big screens, and you could flip the sound in your booth to any one of those particular screens and listen to the game and whatever was going on. Art Schlichter sat in the corner booth of this Damon's. I want to say Reynoldsburg is where it was, but would sit in the corner booth and have a phone from like the DJ booth put over the back of his booth. You'd see the cord, and he'd have the phone there and be making the phone calls I don't think he was calling his family to let him know where he was, but there was the rumors were that he had quite a few, bookies going on at the same time watching those games. So when you talk about the best Ohio State quarterback, I'd probably say Schlichter had the most talent and threw it away. Tomczak was probably the best quarterback to ever come out of Ohio State. And, Justin Fields is just a athletic, I say that in a negative connotation, an athletic quarterback. I don't think he's anything more than that. Great pitching matchup tonight. Scherzer versus Burns. Going to be a lot of channel surfing going on with 2 football games, and the Brewers get some rest. That's our buddy Steve in Richfield. There you have it. 877-867-1670. Again, 877-867-1670. You want to find us, please feel free to go ahead and do so. Let's get to the phone calls. Go back to the phones. And what is it? Daniel listening to us in Toma. Daniel, how you been, buddy?
How you doing?
I'm good. What's up?
The only thing to make our good weekend is to have Minnesota Vikings lose tonight. That's the only thing.
Then it'd be a banner weekend, because that means the Brewers get a couple of wins, Badgers get a big win, Packers get a win, and the Vikings take a loss. That would be a good weekend. I agree with you.
But these people that call you up and says that the rookies need more playing time, of course they are. That's the beginning of the season. They act like this is the 15th week, and oh my God, they're just getting in. This is only game number 2.
Correct.
Don't you think sometimes people, the one guy, he called you up, I had 3 points, they should get more playing time. Well, it's the beginning of the season. Of course they're going to get more playing time.
Mm-hmm.
They ain't going to leave them on the bench.
Right.
But I thought, did you think Sammy did a really good job with that pass he got from Rodgers? And then I thought Randall Cobb had a little bit more motivation last night for catching and all that stuff. I think they need to involve them guys more than people think.
Well, I think that a couple of things was, one, Sammy Watkins, not only on the 55-yard reception across the middle, but also he had a couple of breaks where he sprung Aaron Jones downfield. He had some really solid blocks, and Randall Cobb has always just been a bear killer. He just gets fired up for the Bears for whatever reason, and has always had good games against them. So Randall Cobb did Randall Cobb things. He had an inside slant. He had when a play broke down, he had a comeback because he kind of is on that same wavelength with Aaron Rodgers. So he just gets up for those games, but that's what he does. He had a very much Randall Cobb-like game in conjunction with Aaron Rodgers.
The only thing I was worried about last night, I didn't hear much about the tight end. Are they just slowly bringing them
Well,
back?
they're
maybe not overdoing them.
No, they're slowly bringing them back. But Tanyan had a couple of catches last night. I mean, nothing big.
I'm not saying he didn't have catches now, but it seemed like before he got hurt, he seemed to be. I don't know. There was just like he was a step behind, or maybe they just want him to take it easy and then work up to it. He's not quite. I think later on, maybe the more that there wasn't that pop that I seen before he got hurt.
No, I appreciate it as always, Daniel. But I'll say this about Robert Tanyan is Robert Tanyan's they're easing him back, but for the most part, the tight end position for the Packers has been used as a blocker because last week they were keeping the tight ends in. They were getting their ass handed to them on the offensive line. They were keeping the tight ends in, so you weren't going to involve the tight ends in the passing game very much, hardly at all. So, that's the reason it's been somewhat of a, quote, slow start for the tight ends because they were used as blockers. And hopefully once you get Bakhtiari back and Jenkins back and both guys are kind of, I'm not going to say back to form, but climbing back towards form. That's one of the things about Elton Jenkins last night when Matt LaFleur said, hey, he won the game. It's because you could open up the playbook a little bit. You could change a few things because you have a lot of trust in what he can do, And Brett, you're right. The best quarterback to come out of Ohio State probably is Joe Burrow, but he ended up transferring. He never played for the Buckeyes. He transferred, and then he ended up going to LSU where he won a national title. I agree. So, but that's it. That's it. That's been the best quarterback to come out of Ohio State. 100% agree. 877-867-1670. Hit us up again. 877-867-1670. Let's go to Tim. Tim, welcome to the program, The Bill Michaels Show. What's going on, man?
Hey, Bill. Just got to weigh in on the Ohio State quarterback. I'm going old school.
Okay.
One of Woody Hayes' guys. Cornelius Green.
Oh, wow. That's going back some years. Yeah. Well, Woody Hayes did have Art Schlichter for a short period of time, right? That was an Earl Bruce. That was still, I think Woody Hayes. Bruce. Was it Earl Bruce that had Art Schlichter?
I think so.
I thought Woody had Art Schlichter. I could be wrong. I remember reading the book Straight Arrow when I was a kid, but I can't remember when the transition came. But the transition came abruptly because that was when Woody punched the kid in the throat in, what was it, the Peach Bowl or something like that. And he was subsequently fired. Right. Yeah, against Clemson. He was subsequently fired right after that. But, yeah.
Yep. So I'm going old school.
Yep. That's a blast from the past. Absolutely, man. Good stuff. Anything else?
Great show.
I appreciate it, pal. Talk to you soon. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Give us a shout. If you want to chime in, by all means, do so. This was from Anthony, who says, do you think Aaron Rodgers' numbers only go up? How much did that opening interception piss him off? It's not only the opening interception, but it's the first interception he's thrown in a long time in the division when he threw that ball to Randall Cobb and just kind of tossed it up, trying to see if Randall would go down and make a play or something would happen in the game against the Vikings. It was funny because I was coming home last night and I was kind of thinking, when you do this for a living, you think of weird stuff. And I'm thinking, statistically speaking, because Rodgers had a pretty good game. And I thought, well, if this thing only gets better and the young wide receivers begin to, kind of come of age, but Rodgers is still going to be really stingy with the ball because he really does pay attention to his touchdown to interception ratio. So, and there's going to be times where guys are going to be open. He's not going to see him or he's not going to trust him because he doesn't want to throw him the football because he does not want to turn it over, which on one hand is good. It can also be detrimental. But I thought, what if Rodgers has this spectacular year, right? And the Packers get to another NFC championship game and Rodgers' numbers are gaudy. Suppose he goes 45 touchdowns and 1 pick. And that was the first deep pass he threw to Randall Cobb all season long, just wailing it up to whale it up. If that's the only interception he throws, which I know is weird because we know he's going to throw another pick or 2 or 5 before the season's over. But I was just kind of thinking to myself last night, how does he react to that number now? Because he hates to throw picks. We know that. But in the division, when he had the longest streak of any quarterback within the division, not to throw an interception and all that kind of stuff, that Rodgers remembers things like an elephant knows where to go to die. I mean, just has this memory that is so stellar. And so it was funny you mentioned that because I was contemplating that. Let's do this. We're going to step away. We're going to take a quick break, come back. When we do, Mike Clemens is going to join us, and we're going to recap what we saw last night and all the sights and sounds and such along the way. But we're going to talk a lot about it coming up. Stay tuned. A lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. Still a lot to go coming up right after this.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Gina Della from Pella here. Wayne Larrabee and his wife Julie took advantage of our wide range of beautiful wood designs that can be painted, stained, or unfinished to complement any decor.
We have a lot of windows in this house. You match the craftsmanship of the woodwork around those windows to a T. That's a talented group of people doing that.
We like our wood tones, and so the ability to have wood tones some places and the white windows others, it worked really well for us and allowed us to have exactly what we wanted.
Pella's team of expert installers always provides service of the highest quality, starting with an in-home consultation and ending with no hassle or mess, leaving nothing but perfect results that stand the test of time. We have the best wood warranty in the industry to prove it. There's no reason to wait any longer because right now, put no money down, make no payments, and be charged 0 interest for up to 24 months. At Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Get started today at PellaWI.com.
Expires 9/30/2022. Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
there, and I love the energy and the effort they bring, and certainly want to get them more involved in our offense and, quite frankly, take a little bit of pressure off everybody else.
Second and 11, just pitched it to the edge to Aaron Jones inside the 5 and in the end zone for a Green Bay touchdown.
Welcome back to the program. Our buddy Mike Clemens joining us, brought to you by the Bay Motel in Green Bay. Bay Motel, quiet, cozy, comfortable. Great place, family, food, all that kind of good stuff. Go to baymotelgreenbay.com. That is baymotelgreenbay.com. Real quick, during the last segment, I kind of got thrown for a loop. I had to start thinking to myself when we were talking about Art Schlichter of the Ohio State Buckeyes. And I knew Art was recruited by Woody Hayes. He did play for Woody Hayes. He played his freshman year for Woody Hayes. That was when the infamous punch happened. It wasn't the Peach Bowl. It was the Gator Bowl. I don't know why I screwed it up, but that was against Clemson. And freshman quarterback Art Schlichter got Ohio State in a field goal range. And on the 3rd and 5 at the Clemson 24 with 2:30 remaining, Hayes called a pass play rather than a run. It was picked, and the rest is history. That's when, Woody Hayes threw the punch and thus was fired. And that's when Earl Bruce came in. So he played for both of them. So I knew I wasn't crazy. But I had to go back and check just to be sure. All right. I've gotten through that crap. So in the meantime, Mike Clemens awaits. Michael, how you doing, buddy?
Woody with the silver rim glasses. Remember that?
Yep. Silver. All he needed was that little chain around his neck and he could play canasta.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. So last night, the Aaron Jones show. Hello. How about that?
Right?
Well, and I didn't even see that much, quite frankly, in practice. But that's again maybe some of that stuff that they do behind closed doors when they really get the misdirection going. But that's the offense that they hired Matt LaFleur for, and maybe they sold Aaron Rodgers on it a little bit more. And people wonder if Aaron Rodgers opts out of a lot of plays, but you talk to the other players on the team and you get, this from LaFleur and the offensive coordinator and all that. Like, no, listen, Aaron Rodgers gets us into the right plays. It's not like he just wants to pass. Whatever the case, they stuck with the running game. And Aaron Jones says after the Vikings debacle and only getting 5 or 6 carries, Matt LaFleur came to him and A.J. Dillon during the week and told them, you guys get ready because we are going to run the football against Chicago.
Coach came out and said it. Yeah, we're going to get you and AJ the ball more and get you guys more involved. So that just naturally put a smile on my face and know that I had to show up when my number was called. And that just pushes me that much harder. I think our blocking unit did a great job coming out and just creating space for me, not just the O-line, but the receivers and tight ends as well.
You were breaking a lot of tackles tonight. What's the key to that? I mean, you're not AJ Dillon size, but you broke a lot of tackles tonight. Stay
slippery. I think I have a knack for breaking tackles and knowing how to get tackled or rolling with the tackle. So just being elusive, making the most of every carry you get, not letting one person take you down. That's our thing in the running back room. We don't believe that one person should be able to take you down in a one-on-one situation.
So he talks about the holes and getting outside. Now, the mention there by Bill Huber of Sports Illustrated, he's not A.J. Dillon's size. A.J. Dillon is a grinder. He's a pounder. We were talking about that earlier. He grinds on a defense, and then you come back with Aaron Jones, who just flat out beats you to the outside with his speed. You get a different look. It's kind of looking at a guy that throws a 89-mile-an-hour fastball, and you just can kind of tee off on it. But then all of a sudden, here comes the 100-mile-an-hour fastball that you can't catch up to, and that's Aaron Jones.
Mm-hmm. That's a good analogy. And what was interesting is it seemed like they came out with A.J. Dillon first, right? Off tackle, pounding the rock. But then, they on third down or when they think that they had things set up, they would spring Aaron Jones to the outside. Now, listen, we've been talking about the Jake Hansen, the backup center, playing right guard during the preseason and even against the Vikings. Zadarius Smith keyed on him and blew past him to get a sack on Aaron Rodgers. He wasn't cutting it at right guard. And when Elton Jenkins had apparently full participation in Friday's practice and must have felt okay on Saturday, that's when they gave him the green light. So they put him back at right tackle, which
just, elevated the team. They put Royce Newman at right guard. They started running the ball to the right side. It was all left sided up in Minnesota. And so, Dillon gets 18 carries and 61 yards. Jones gets 15 carries, but he busted one for 3,632 yards just on the ground. And when he would get outside with that outside zone, there was one thing that Ben Sermons, his running back coach, is the two-way go. For these guys, if you get to the second level, the visuals, to anticipate whether you're going to cut in or cut out. And so Aaron Jones talked about just how big the holes were last night against Chicago.
The holes look massive. It's like you kind of, on some runs, you have a two-way go. You can hit it outside or you can cut it back inside. And when you have those choices in those lanes and that kind of space, it's a good day. The thing we have talked about is just being a spark. When you run somebody over, you break a long run, you can see the energy from the sideline. And last week, when I broke my little long run, you can see the sideline get energized. And so we know we can be a spark plug. So that's some of the things that we've talked about.
So
certainly if you have a huge package.
So last night, Mike, we saw a lot of two-back sets. We saw, where we talked about this. We didn't see a lot of that in game one, but last night we did, and we saw that in the preseason or in training camp, if you will, too.
Right, yeah. And it helped them to get Alan Lazard back because he's a great blocker, and Elton Jenkins back at right tackle. And, and you ask Aaron Jones to see those two guys' faces in the huddle last night. What did that do for the team?
Oh, yes, sir. It definitely did. You felt their juice out there, just their presence alone in the huddle. It sparks everybody. It gives everybody that juice. We got our guys back. He's one of the leaders on the O-line, and Allen, one of the leaders in the receivers room. So you get two of your key players back is definitely going to be a boost to confidence around everybody.
Then Matt LaFleur, he had a lot of, we'll say, positive things to say about, obviously, the running backs and what they did last night.
Yeah, well, and A.J. Dillon, though, he spoke to the media as well. And, when you got Jerry Kramer in there, you think about the power sweep from the Lombardi years and Amon Green, and you think about, Horning and Taylor in the 60s. Or even William Henderson and Dorsey or Amon Green in the 90s and early 2000s, MacArthur Lane, back in the early 70s. You're thinking about these combos, and they haven't had a combo like this in a long time. And so A.J. Dillon talked about what his role is, almost like a fullback as a lead blocker for Aaron Jones into the end zone.
We knew what it was going to be coming in this rivalry game, especially with the Bears. Always going to be one of those kind of got to just strap up your chin strap, bring your lunch pail to work. For me, that'd be my brother, to be able to block for him, to get him in the end zone. It's awesome. It's an awesome feeling knowing he trusts to run behind me, and obviously the rest of the blocking unit and everything. The defense played their ass off today. Definitely gave us, a lot of momentum. Just feeding off them in certain situations. That goal line stand was huge in the momentum of the game. So, it's awesome when the teams collectively hitting like that really works out.
Yeah, it's, obviously the offensive line was okay. They weren't great. The running backs did a lot of work on their own, a lot of arm tackles, as Aaron Jones alluded to, a lot of missed tackles as well. And also they were getting touches out of the backfield.
Yeah, almost 200 yards of rushing for these guys last night. A.J. Dillon kind of being unselfish and blocking for Aaron Jones. And LaFleur talked about this 1-2 punch with Dillon and Aaron Jones.
I'll tell you what, Aaron Jones, man, he was absolutely electric. Every time I think he was going down, he'd somehow find a way and squirt his way through, and just embodies everything that you want in a football player. The way he works, how selfless he is, how he cheers for his teammates, how he supports his teammates. They don't make many like this guy. He is one of a kind. It's not a surprise to me that he was elected a captain. Just the way he treats everybody in this building, just works his ass off. I always call him 1A and 1A. A.J. Dillon, he grinded out a lot of tough yardage. Some of those plays weren't always blocked the best, but he was able to lower his pads and get positive yards, which is absolutely pivotal for our success. And, one thing we talked about as an offense is just staying and having positive plays and consistent plays to stay out of those third and longs. And unfortunately, we still had too many third and long situations. But I thought both those guys just ran really hard. I thought our offensive line did a pretty good job blocking in the run game. And then also, the receivers and tight ends did their job as well.
Following up on the selfless part about Aaron, a lot of running backs in this league, if they don't get the ball as many times as they want, might have reacted differently. Did you hear a peep from him all week?
Yeah, never. I've never heard anything. I quite frankly, I don't know if I've ever heard a negative comment come out of his mouth. Not to say that I'm sure it happens. He's human, but around here, we have a rule: no complaining, no excuses. Never heard that from him.
There you go, Matt LaFleur. Let's do this. We'll step away, take a quick break, come back. We got Mike Clemens on the line chatting with us about last night's ball game. A lot of sight sounds coming out of the locker room as well. Stay tuned. A lot more of the Bill Michaels Show yet to go right after this.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Rogers, touchdown, Lazard.
I got the huddle. I was like, hey, after I scored a touchdown here, just so we can bring up the energy and the juice, I was like, I'm going to pour you guys some tea. I want you guys to drink the tea and do with it as you would like to. So we saw a variety of celebrations after drinking the tea.
I was going to clean my room until I got high.
How about that? Little tea time in the end zone. Not spilling the tea, not a gossip session, but the ayahuasca 100 hands feeling me up type of thing. I don't know if that includes a crotch grab or not, but nevertheless, everybody took a little sip in the end zone and then passed out after that. Mike Clemens joining us on the hotline. Mike, just this whole ayahuasca thing has just taken on a life of its own, hasn't it?
Well, I felt so dumb. I felt so on hip because here we are talking to Alan Lazard, and great that he's back in the game and had some nice catches in the touchdown catch. And I've known the guy since the start when he came up from the practice squad, out of Jacksonville and all that. And he's talking about the tea celebration, and I kind of picked that up from the press box. I didn't really quite see the monitor what was going on, and so he's talking about So I told the guys in the huddle, if I get a touchdown, we're going to have a tea party. And I said, tea party? And one of the TV reporters said, Mike, the Aaron Rodgers and Joe Rogan thing. Oh, okay.
Right.
And then Lazard, then he was asked, hey, was Aaron Rodgers to hip to what the tea celebration, idea was all about?
He must have, because I feel like he had probably the best reaction. I think it just the tea just overtook his body. You kind of just see something just come up out of him, which is pretty cool.
There you go. Just it's just such a weird deal, man. With the thing. Yeah.
Hey, over the weekend, a friend of mine pointed out. So somewhere recently, Aaron Rodgers sat down with Bill Maher.
Yeah.
From the HBO political show, and it's 2 hours of him sitting at Bill Maher's house, and Bill Maher is sitting there, lighting up joints because I guess that's what he does on his podcast. It goes on for 2 hours. Like I watched about 4 or 5 minutes, and Bill Maher, who I kind of like, just talked about himself and didn't ask, Aaron a single question. So I said, okay, I don't have another 2 hours to sit through this, but it's pretty open up there with number 12. So one thing that I thought that was impressive last night was spreading the ball around. 3 passes to Aaron Jones, 3 to Randall Cobb to get key first downs on third down. Christian Watson catching the ball. Dubs getting a couple. And then Lazard with, the touchdown. Robert Tonyan got it at 2-2-2, 3-3-3, not, 15 to one receiver like Adams. And then what a beautiful pass to Sammy Watkins. Almost reminded me of that one that Watkins busted for Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl when they beat the 49ers down the right sideline there in Miami that you and I covered. And so Sammy gets that 55-yard catch in the fourth quarter and talked about that play call.
Great play call by coaches, and I just freaking ran fast, and that was really simple, the easy part. But great play call. Defense was coming in the box. They think we run the ball, and we freaking literally on the 5-yard line, I think.
And there was a gutsy play call by the coaches, and literally I just ran my route fast as I can, and Aaron laid it out there, and I just went up under it, ran up under it.
Yeah, it's Sammy Watkins. I thought they ran that play a couple of times where Sammy was crossing, and I kept noting he was, open. And then finally, they went back and got into that. And, certainly, he busted for 55 yards. So a big play for Sammy Watkins is something that I think they set up beautifully.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, is that, the Bears did get some pressure on Aaron Rodgers last night as well. And, you know about Robert Quinn, that he was coming off the outside. They would line up him and the other defensive end way out, Gibson, way outside the tackles. And they were making a beeline for Rodgers. And they got home 2 or 3 times last night. They hit him 4 times. And Rodgers got banged up against the Vikings as well. So, they were speeding up his clock as well. But that's why it was so great to see them get the running game going, because then, then that makes the play action, that sells it, makes it more believable. Now here, Bill, I thought this is an excellent moment of coaching. The Bears start getting some momentum again, finally, there in the fourth quarter, and they're driving down the field. And then Justin Fields makes that run to the corner there, and it looks like he's got a touchdown, and it's under for review. So you're asking LaFleur after the game about stopping the Bears at the goal line, momentum swing and all that. And listen to him talking about, while that long review is going on, what are you doing as a coach? And listen to him say, that's what I'm talking to Jason Vrabel, my wide receiver coach, and my offensive coordinator, Adam Stanovich, about, okay, and what's the next thing we could do on offense, from what we just saw in the last series. And that's when they came up with the play to Watkins in the next drive. So while they're wasting time, we're going through that long review process, he's talking about the next drive. And at the same time, what is he telling Joe Barry about if, in fact, the Bears get a touchdown at this point?
Yeah, no, it was tough, because all I told Joe Barry was get a 2-point play ready to defend, because I couldn't tell. It was, I think whatever way the officials ruled it, it would have stood. And I think a lot of time those spot foul, or those when you challenge a spot or whenever it gets reviewed, those are tough to overturn. But I thought it was pretty inconclusive. Again, whichever way it would have gone, it probably would have been upheld. But yeah, certainly we were racking our brain about what we wanted to run on offense during that long intermission. And we came up with a couple of the big play pass was one of the adjustments we made on the sideline. Our receivers did a great job communicating to Jason Vrabel. He relayed that to me, and we kind of made up a play with that option. And thankfully, our guys did a great job blocking, and we went out there, and Aaron threw a great ball to Sammy, and he made the play.
Packers, Mike, we talked about it. Defensively, they got gashed on a couple of drives. The very first one and really the last one before they made the goal line stand. But in between, they did a magnificent job. Right after they got gashed in an opening drive, it was 3 straight 3-and-outs for a total of, I think it was like only 3 yards in that particular quarter, in the second quarter. Man, they did a hell of a job.
Yeah, the biggest pass play for the Bears was the 39-yarder to Equanimeous St. Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Then they shut out Darnell Mooney. I mean, the guy had 0 really last night in that game. Rasul Douglas made some huge plays at open field tackles last night. And Preston Smith, at outside linebacker, said, did the Green Bay defense have to adjust the game plan after the Bears drove for that touchdown in their opening drive?
No, we just made sure we make those mistakes, man. It was a lot of mistakes that was made on that first drive that, a lot of people wouldn't know, but internally we know we had to play more sound and move faster and play more with a sense of urgency. And we came out there and after those drives, we played with sense of urgency, got lined up, played, and made sure that we didn't make a lot of mistakes again.
Yeah, it's, again, it was just a matter of, I kind of guess, shoring things up. And really the last couple of drives seemed like the Packers defensively kind of felt that they'd already salted that game away. In the meantime, the Bears take their first loss of the season. And I don't think the Bears were as good as what maybe people were starting to think because they got that win over the 49ers in an absolute monsoon. I think last night kind of exposed them as to still what they are.
That was an iconic weekend for the Bears, though. Brand new head coach, so much excitement, and then how the Bears prevailed in the win with a tough defense and a running game, and they were sure on special teams, and they had an interception or two, and they also had some penalties racked up. But for Justin Fields to do that slip and slide in the end zone and jump up and pose, man, that was awesome TV for that team. And then they come up to Green Bay and they get their asses kicked again. And so, they've now lost 12 of the last 13, the last 7 in a row. And Matt Eberflus had to talk about his team after his first loss as an NFL head coach.
As I talk to the players in the locker room there, we still have our 24-hour rule. And when this happens, you have adversity, it stings and it hurts. And you have to soak that in because, it's the same thing with victory. You only can hold on to that for so long, then you got to let it go.
You're right. I mean, he's right. You only go with it for a certain period of time, and then you got to get done. But I still think that they're only, a team that's very one-dimensional. I think Justin Fields is a run-first guy. He's not an overly accurate passer. They don't have a ton of weapons. I think they got a long way to go.
I talked to a guy that covers the Bears last week who said, I don't think the plan for them this season for Justin Fields is to throw more than 20 or 25 passes a game. So far in 2 games, he's only thrown 29, only 11 last night. You got Luke Getsy's as offensive coordinator. They're all putting it on David Montgomery's back. And, of course, they got crushed in terms of time of possession. Green Bay had the ball 37 minutes, and they just, the Bears couldn't convert on third down. But Eberflus was asked with only 11 pass attempts, is the Bears' offense looked at as being one-dimensional right now?
Yeah, I mean, I always think that on offense you have to have balance. So we're going to have to look at that, and we'll look at that, as we assess the game and evaluate the game. But man, the way we were running it, we were running it really well, and we were still in the game at that point. So we were going with what was working for us.
Justin Fields, Mike, like I'd stated before, I know there's a lot of optimism that he's going to be something, and I thought coming into this season he would be, and it's still way too early to kind of tell, but he still looks like that quarterback that, is okay. He's, going to be a placeholder until they actually find somebody who can really play quarterback.
He's, he can run with a football, but he's not Lamar Jackson, and frankly, I don't think he can pass as well as him. But this kid hasn't flinched yet, and even though he only had, 11 attempts, 7 completions, a quarterback rating of 43.8, and then the 1 pick, late in the game that Jair was able to get. He was asked, look, you guys came out with an impressive opening drive. What bogged you guys down the rest of the game?
I think, we had, penalties. I think that, stopped our momentum a little bit. So I think the main thing with that is just we can't shoot ourselves in the foot. We got to stay on track on first and second down and just keep ourselves out of third and longs.
Let's do this. We got another segment left in us. Mike Clemens joining us. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at J&L Tire Service right out there in Johnson Creek, right north of 94. Can't miss it. Great people, but even more so, they do a lot for the community. So support good people, honest people when it comes to tires, brakes, car repair, semi-repair, whatever it happens to be. Look for them. That's J&L Tire Service. JNLTire.com, JNLTire.com. Final segment of the Bill Michaels Show. It's coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket, this is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Are you a gold breaker? Play your favorite games at Potawatomi Sunday afternoons now through September, and you could win your share of $1 million in prizes. Break the code, win the $10,000 top jackpot, and everyone playing slots also wins a prize. Anyone can win on any machine again and again. Do you have the golden touch? Gold Breaker, only at Potawatomi. Visit paysbig.com/goldbreaker for more. Must be 21 years old and a club member to play.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
The second half was frustrating, but it's tough to win this league, so I'm very happy. Just like them, we expected to win this game. So, I'm not up here surprised about what happened. Felt like we had a good week of practice, and if we just played our game, that this was the type of outcome that could happen. But I'm disappointed in the second half.
The words of Aaron Rodgers. Welcome back to the program. Again, Mike Clements brought to you by our friends at the Bay Motel Green Bay. Quiet, cozy, comfortable. That's the place to go. Go to baymotelgreenbay.com. That's baymotelgreenbay.com. So, Matt LaFleur I don't think they have much right now, Mike, of a downfield game. They don't have that legitimate threat yet. Christian Watson could possibly be that guy. Romeo Doubs can possibly be that guy. But right now, it's a lot of motion, a lot of get the ball in the hands of your playmakers. Let them do their thing. It's not managing an offense. You don't want to be a, quote, a game manager if you're Aaron Rodgers. But it's kind of what he needs to do right now.
On the way to the game, I was listening to some of the national reports on what was going around the league, and a veteran dropped the ball, and the host on the national show said he looked like Christian Watson on that play. Like, oh, God, the kid, after that drop in the Vikings, he's become the poster boy for drop footballs. But that's supposed to be the go-to guy. But it got to be the fourth quarter last night, and, it's all good. Mason Crosby kicks the field goal. You weren't able to convert after the big deep pass to Sammy Watkins, and you're up 27-10. You got alumni night. You got 78,000. You're on prime time, and Aaron Rodgers comes off and yanks that chin strap off, and he's not happy. And he's talking to LaFleur, and he's not happy, and he's talking to Tom Clements, and he's not happy, and he didn't throw the tablet. And then LaFleur was talking him off the ledge, talking him down, and then gave him a big hug like, dude, you got the win. We got the W. And you know what? Aaron Rodgers is like, we should have scored that drive. And we had all those plays, and we couldn't get it in, and we had to settle for the field goal, and we got Tampa Bay coming up next. And, this is the crap that we need to work on in the coming week. And in the meantime, Matt LaFleur was asked about, why did you guys get off to that bumpy start at the start of the game?
Yeah, no, obviously the first drive was a bit frustrating, especially with kind of what transpired with our first offensive drive. We were moving the ball pretty well, and this is not an excuse. It's going to come off that way, but I promise you it's not. We were having some serious headset issues where it kept cutting out, and we tried to switch it in the middle of a play, and it was kind of disaster. But needless to say, our defense, they hit. I think was that when they hit the flea flicker on us, and they were able to move the ball down the field and came away with 7. But I thought all in all, our defense regrouped, and I thought every time I looked out there, we were playing pretty physical. And you got to give the Bears a ton of credit. I mean, David Montgomery is a premier back in this league. His ability to break tackles and just how hard he runs is pretty impressive to watch. Don't want to see that, but you got to give him credit because he battled. And I thought their entire team battled for 4 quarters, but it was great. I thought we got pretty good pressure on Fields. And to give up 10 points in this league, that's pretty special. And I know that you can look at the stats. I don't have them in front of me, but certainly we don't want to give as many rushing yards as we did, but to hold the team to, 70 some odd yards passing, I think that's pretty special.
Mike, again, I saw at that point when Aaron Rodgers was getting irritated because things kept cutting out. He was like, come on. And they actually had to call a timeout at one point because I think they had some issues trying to get a play in or a couple plays in on time yesterday.
Yeah, I even saw that in the fourth quarter with the binoculars looking at him. He kept on pointing to his helmet and everything. So last night you saw improved play on defense. You were trying to see some improvement on special teams. And then you got Aaron Rodgers handed off to Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. It's more of a run, misdirection offense. And so LaFleur was asked, are you turning Aaron Rodgers into a game manager quarterback?
Hey, definitely not a game manager because there's so much that we put on his shoulders in terms of him getting us into the right place. I mean, that takes a lot, and then just some of the off-schedule plays he made today, running around. I thought early on it felt like the rush was kind of getting to him a little bit. I mean, we didn't have great protection. And just to have that mental toughness, because that's not easy when you feel that barreling down on you and you get sacked a couple times. And every time he gets hit, I cringe. Hey, man, I just want him to get up. And but, yeah, he made a huge off-schedule play to Cobby, I think right before the half, I want to say. And he does so much for this football team and just the way he leads our guys. And I thought he played outstanding.
Did he pull the ball on that third down run, or was that by design?
You'll never know.
There you go. That's Matt LaFleur after the game. Mike, great stuff, buddy.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, pal. Talk to you soon. That's going to do it on a Monday edition. You got 2 football games coming up tonight. The one we're going to watch is the Vikings and the Philadelphia Eagles. By all means, the Buffalo Bills, see if they can go 2-0 and keep everybody's Super Bowl hopes alive in the Buffalo, New York area. You got Brewers baseball coming up tonight. That'll do it.